Whoa, these Vapo-Cool drops hit fast.
Speaking of fast, did you just see that play?
Yeah, he vaporized that ball.
That pun should have come with a penalty.
Vaporize sore throat pain with Vicks Vapo-Cool drops. Use as directed.
The new year brings new health goals and wealth goals. Protecting your identity is an important step. Your info is in endless places that could expose you to identity theft, leading to lost funds. LifeLock monitors millions of data points per second. If your identity is stolen, our restoration specialists will fix it, guaranteed, or your money back. Resolve to make identity health and wealth part of your New Year's goals with LifeLock. Save up to 40% your first year with promo code NEWS. Visit lifelock.com. Terms apply.
Air Comfort Service, heating, cooling, and insulation, weather.
Our temperature's still mild going through the afternoon, 63, but there will be periods of rain. It's a little bit windy, too. Showers, some rumbles around during the evening. It's windy, turning partly cloudy after midnight, 49. So this thing is in and out fairly quickly. Friday, a mix of clouds and sunshine, 56. Colder for the weekend, 44 Saturday. Sunday, the coldest day, with a high of 36. This is 97.1 FM Talk. Chief Meteorologist Dave Murray.
This hour of the Mark Reardon Show is sponsored by Gamma Tree Experts. Your trees deserve the best care. Call Gamma Tree Experts. This is the Mark Reardon Show on 97.1 FM Talk.
It's kind of gloomy out there today, isn't it? After some nice days, not so nice this afternoon. Great day to sit inside, cozy up by the fire, and listen to the Mark Reardon Show. That's what people do. That's the image that I have of the listeners.
Yeah, I think that's realistic.
They're snuggled up there with their dogs, like
sort of like a fireside chat.
Yeah, exactly. Like my
Yeah.
friend Jeannie Sullivan from Pet Supplies Plus. She has her little dog that looks like a gerbil. It's about the size of a hamster, a gerbil.
Sure.
Sitting there listening to the show because they're loyal. How's everyone here in this room? I've got a little like everyone else does. I'm coughing a little bit. I feel fine, but I woke up this morning pretty congested. But this stuff's going around. Like people have this, and it's lingering for a couple of weeks. And then there's the flu, and I'm talking about like the real flu. And Fred,
Right.
you're like the health editor at KMOX, but that's becoming a pretty significant issue across the country. I mean,
Right.
you have a lot of people who are dying right now because of the flu.
It's bad right now
Yeah.
in Missouri and Illinois. Illinois had its first pediatric death of the season. A couple guests I tried to get in other parts of the country for the show said they have the flu right now.
Right. So you know that I have a medical degree. I think it's pretty clear that the audience knows that as well. But one of the things that always annoys me, and it has for years, Fred, you know this, is I have this this hang up when people say they have the flu when they don't have the flu. In other words, they get a little stomach virus or something like that lasts for 24 hours, 48 hours. That is not the flu. The flu kicks your ass. It gives you body aches. It gives you congestion.
It feels like
could
you've been
turn
hit by a
into-
truck.
Right, exactly. So, and I've had the real flu before, but it could last a couple of weeks. So, and then that's why it's so deadly for, in some cases, older people, right? That's the reason that we warn people about the flu. I've not gotten a flu shot, though. That's probably something. You know, I haven't gotten one in 3 years, Fred. The whole COVID thing kind of turned me off. I'm not trying to be like anti-vaccine or anything like that, but I'm just telling you, all the forced vaccines, and then I just stopped getting the flu shot. Do you guys get flu shots?
Nope.
Okay.
I do. I get a flu shot every year.
Fred,
Did
I
not
always,
get a COVID this year.
I always used to, and I haven't got a COVID shot in 3 years, which, you know. The thing about COVID that's weird, too, is my dad just had it up in Chicago, so that's concerned because, you know, he's 83 years old. Then there's people like, we work with a couple of people here that literally have had COVID like 6 or 7 times. And I think I've had it once. You don't even know that you've had it.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Right. Unbelievable. All right. Hey, let's talk about the media nonsense with what happened in Minnesota, because this is quite something. And I said yesterday, and I started, and I'm going to repeat this today, that I still have a lot of questions about what happened up there. I've looked at multiple video angles. I've seen breakdown after breakdown. I said yesterday that I can't, at this point, call this a 100% justifiable shooting. But I think it's being misrepresented by most people in the legacy media, as we would expect. I mean, the officer, to me, I think the biggest key here is that bullet came through the front window. Now, people will say, well, he kept shooting. Well, unfortunately, that's what you do, and he's trained to do that. This guy had been on the job for 10 years, and here's something interesting. Now, would this play in court, or could they even introduce this in court? By the way, this guy's not going to be charged with anything. But 6 months ago, Sue, I don't know if you've heard about this, and they have video of this. In another operation in Minneapolis, this ICE agent was dragged by a car about 300 feet, right behind the car. He had 33 stitches in his leg. He was in the hospital. So what J.D. Vance said today, and J.D. Vance went up during the briefing. When Carolyn started the briefing, she kind of handed it off to the vice president. He kind of went off on some of the media coverage. Did you see the St. Louis Post-Dispatch story about this? Okay, well, this is, again, not to be unexpected, but they say, let me find it here. Federal office, this is in the print edition, which I know nobody gets, but this somebody who does get it sent me this. Federal officer kills motorists. That's the headline of it, right? So no matter what, here's what I'm going to really emphasize, and I want to play some audio here this afternoon, but I listened to a lot of CNN last night and this morning, and I heard over and over and over again, and this was after J.D. Vance spoke this morning and made the case for this being certainly an officer defending himself. But they, over and over again, they said, oh, he's made his decision. The administration has made their decision about what this is, and they say there's going to be an investigation. Why would you have an investigation if they've already made up their mind? Well, you got the other side calling this murder. I mean, they came out of the gate right away, Jacob Fry. This is murder. This is BS, right? So they're calling it murder. All the media is calling it murder. I mean, the responsibility on the part of the media. Although, I will say this, and I said this yesterday. Fred, did you hear Tony DeCopel?
No.
Okay. So Tony DeCopel, the new guy at CBS, and I'm going to have to say this as well, that NBC did something somewhat responsible last night in their evening newscast when they broke down the video, and they actually did it professionally and journalistically. So here's what I would say. I also think, in fairness, that the administration, President, the Vice President, and Kristi Noem have overstated what happened yesterday in Minneapolis, and there's no need to do that. You can just give the facts of what happened. The guy wasn't about to be, well, look, I got to be careful here because we don't know everything. No. But the fact of the matter is that there were things that Kristi and the President said that really are exaggerated, and I don't like that because you don't need to exaggerate it. Here's what you need to say. This person dropped her daughter off at school, a 6-year-old, right? So what person in their right mind drops a kid off at school, which I do pretty much every day of my life, by the way, and have been for years, says goodbye to their kids and tell them you love them, and then decides that the best move for her life for the rest of the day is to play traffic cop and not allow ICE vehicles to go through, but to wave through other people, because that's what she was doing.
Oh, seriously?
Oh, yeah, she's waving through other people. At one point, she reverses the car. That's the other thing. You need to see the video that happened before all this, because you'll see how she's waving cars through, and then she moves forward to block the ICE vehicle. The two guys get out of that SUV. The shooter is moving his way around the other side of the vehicle at this point. So I do wish that the administration would dial down its description of this just a little bit, because it gives the left an opportunity to say that's not what really happened, right? But there's a lot of things that we don't know. And going back to Tony DeCopel, he interviewed Tom Homan last night. This is the way, in my opinion, the administration should have responded.
I think the city of Minneapolis is on edge. I think the country is on edge right now. You say the investigation is ongoing.
The investigation just started.
Just started. You say you can't comment on the video, which many Americans are seeing and reacting to.
I'm not going to make a judgment call on one video when there's 100 videos out there. I wasn't on the scene. I'm not an officer that may have body cam video. It'd be unprofessional to comment on what I think happened in that situation. Let the investigation play out. And hold people accountable based on the investigation.
See, I wish I would have heard a little bit more of that from Trump and Vance, and no, I really do.
I think many members of the public are calling for the same thing, and so they're confused. Maybe you can help me understand how the Department of Homeland Security could conclude so swiftly that this is a, quote, act of domestic terrorism, that this woman, quote, weaponized her vehicle. By the very same standard you described, this investigation is just getting started.
So that is a fair question, I think, from Tony DeCopel. It really is, because I don't think this woman, we don't know enough about her. Maybe she is a domestic terrorist, because she seems to be, I've heard conflicting information. I'll be honest with you. There are some reports that she was one that was very active in this and kind of leading the operation. That tells you something right there. But I've heard contradictory views of that as well. This stuff leaks out there very quickly, and no one knows exactly what the truth is in the first few days for sure.
That's the question for Homeland Security, and the borders are. Well, I can tell you what I've seen on my airplane ride here, looking at numerous videos, seeing numerous social media posts, statements from the Homeland Security, statements from Secretary Noem. I'll leave it at that.
But as a law enforcement officer,
what good is it to do right now to me prejudge the facts of what happened today without giving law enforcement professionals, whether it's the FBI or the local police there, give them time to look at all the videos, talk to all the witnesses, talk to the officers, and make an educated decision on what occurred today. That's what needs to happen. I've been a cop since 1984. That is the process we must go through.
All right, we're going to have a couple of different people weigh in here this hour throughout the show as well, but Brian Kilmeade's coming up, former St. Louis County Police Chief Tim Fitch as well. Let me play a little bit here before we get to Kilmeade on J.D. Vance this morning because he ripped the media.
Somebody sent me a photo of a CNN headline about what happened in Minneapolis, and this is the headline. I'm just going to read it. Outrage after ICE officer kills U.S. citizen in Minneapolis. Well, that's one way to put it, and that is the way that many people in the corporate media have put this attack over the last 24 hours. And I say attack very, very intentionally because this was an attack on federal law enforcement. This was an attack on law and order. This was an attack on the American people. The way that the media, by and large, has reported this story has been an absolute disgrace, and it puts our law enforcement officers at risk every single day.
So he highlights some of this, but again, let's go back to the fact that who in their right mind would think that there are not going to be consequences if you block police, whether they're federal officers or otherwise, from moving through traffic, and you're specifically on purpose doing that. Look, that's going to end in one of three ways, okay? You're either going to get arrested, which they were trying to do, or you're going to get shot, which happened, or you're going to get killed, which happened. All right? That all happened. And that's on her. What I think happened, I don't know this, I think she panicked. Right? Was she trying to run over the officer? I don't think so. That's my opinion. Did the officer have the right to defend himself? Absolutely. Especially if you see the angle where it looks completely like he's hit. The New York Times did a little breakdown of this, and their breakdown was relatively fair until they got to the part about whether or not the officer was hit by the vehicle. I mean, I think it's pretty clear from a couple of the angles that, in fact, he was. And here's what J.D. Vance says CNN left out.
What that headline leaves out is the fact that that very ICE officer nearly had his life ended, dragged by a car 6 months ago, 33 stitches in his leg. So you think maybe he's a little bit sensitive about somebody ramming him with an automobile? What that headline leaves out is that that woman was there to interfere with a legitimate law enforcement operation in the United States of America. What that headline leaves out is that that woman is part of a broader left-wing network to attack, to dox, to assault, and to make it impossible for our ICE officers to do their job. If the media wants to tell the truth, they ought to tell the truth that a group of left-wing radicals have been working tirelessly, sometimes using domestic terror techniques to try to make it impossible for the President of the United States to do what the American people elected him to do, which is enforce our immigration laws.
Well stated, J.D. Vance. Boom, mic drop moment.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Well, we've got some wet roadways out there. It was kind of misting when I was driving in, so just take it easy. Now, westbound 70, a little bit of volume already at Jennings Station Road, past the airport, west of 94 at K and Wentzville to a point just west of there. 64, it's moderate volume, Clayton Skinker out through the inner belt. Southbound 170 slowing at 64. Southbound 270 right now. Most of the volume is from Page down through 6440. 44 westbound. We had an incident reported, an accident west of 141. Slow moving traffic there and at 270. 55, by the way, slowing already at Bates. We look fine if you're headed into Illinois. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Brian Kilmeade, just around the corner.
Big trucks, big damage. And when you're the one left injured, you need someone who knows how to take on the trucking companies and win. You need Kaufman Townsley. Our attorneys live and work right here in St. Louis. We act fast, we dig deep, and we don't back down. Trucking accidents are serious, and so are we. Kaufman Townsley. Real people, real results. Call 314-777-7777.
With the new IHOP value menu, $6 is all it takes to go to your happy place, where stacks of pancakes with bacon and eggs are just $6 every day. French toast, sausage, and eggs are, you guessed it, $6. And fluffy omelets come with a side of pancakes and only cost $6. Go to your happy plates every day at IHOP. $7 in some locations. Available every day for a limited time at participating restaurants in the U.S. Hours may vary. No substitutions. Not valid with other discounts or promotions. Prices may vary.
Okay, we've got the chips, the fancy cheese, the sparkling cider. Oh, and I need to fill up the tank on the way home.
Look at the cart. We haven't even hit midnight yet, and you're already blowing your save money resolution for next year.
I'm not blowing it. I'm being smart. I'm using Upside.
Upside? That cash back app?
Exactly. I just claimed an offer, and just like that, I'm getting cash back on all these groceries. And I'll do the same at the gas station. It's how I earned an extra $250 this year.
Wait, $250?
Yep, that's extra cash I can cash out to my bank or throw onto gift cards to my favorite spots.
Download the free Upside app and start earning cash back now. Use promo code POP for a $10 bonus on your first grocery purchase. That's promo code POP. Make your resolution easy this year. Download the free Upside app today and use promo code POP for an extra $10 bonus on your first purchase.
Offers vary by user and location at participating merchants. Go to Upside.com for terms and conditions.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack. Sure, you can post your job to some job board, but then all you can do is hope the right person comes along, which is why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. It finds them for you. Its powerful technology identifies people with the right experience and actively invites them to apply to your job. You get qualified candidates fast. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you what you're looking for. The needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. That's ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter.com/radio.
ZipRecruiter. The Mark Reardon Show. 97.1 FM Talk. St. Louis Conservative.
Hey, they had a vote in the Senate a little earlier today about congressional approval needed for any more action in Venezuela, and there were some Republicans who voted against the president. He's none too happy about that. One of them, not too hard to guess, came from Missouri here. Here's what President Trump said. Susan Collins, Lisa Murkowski, Rand Paul, Josh Hawley, and Todd Young should never be elected to office again. I'd only agree on Josh Hawley because he's such a jackass. I like his policies, but there's such a difference in the quality between Senator Schmidt and Senator Hawley.
Yeah.
It's not even close. And you know, I have to admit my bias. I helped put that idiot on the radar here when he was a law professor at Mizzou. And, you know, because I asked him one tough question after January 6th, they've never spoken with me again. And he's a jackass, so there is that. Hey, Brian Kilmeade's with us this afternoon. Hi, Brian. How are you?
Oh, good. How are you?
Well, I'm a little confused about some of the media coverage of what's happening in Minnesota. And I've been pretty honest that I'm open to seeing different angles, different, pieces of evidence. But wow, I don't know if you saw or heard J.D. Vance. I'm guessing you might have heard a little bit of it, but he lit up the media pretty good earlier today.
And he should have. I mean, and by the way, just the irresponsible behavior of Pritzker, Governor Walz, Governor Newsom, Mayor Bass, the respected mayors in Chicago, and this clown. I cannot believe we have to deal and listen to him again. Like we had to listen to his crap as he gave up the police station in Minneapolis. And then Mamdani weighing in, calling it a murder. This guy's got the job for a week.
Yeah.
He's making his foreign policy known, and now he's letting us know how he feels about ICE. So this is going to be a nightmare here.
Well, what's your analysis of what happened? And everyone's got their own opinions, but I've been a little bit maybe more critical of what DHS, Kristi Noem, the president, have said about this, because I think they've overstated some of the facts when it wasn't necessary to overstate the facts. I mean, you could look at this thing the way it went down and say that the guy thought that the car was going to run him over. He has the right to defend himself.
Well, a couple of things. I mean, just the fact that how many people do you know that when a cop tells you to pull over, you wouldn't pull over? How many people do you know that wouldn't roll down a window?
Brian,
how many people do you know that would pull away?
How many people do you know who would drop their kid off, who's 6 years old, and then all of a sudden pull sideways in a street to block federal agents? That's a very valid question. That's Mother of the Year stuff right there.
Yeah, I mean, the rest of you could tell. And by the way, if you went to a police academy, a nice academy, and you know the protocol, you can read the law. Okay, I get it. But you know the protocol, you know the training. I actually don't even think you should bring up that he had an incident where he was dragged and got 33 stitches. I actually don't think that matters because you should not be overreacting, even though you're human. You shouldn't be overreacting. For example, if you threw on something much less serious, if you threw an interception in the fourth quarter of last game, and then you do it again in the next game and you lose your mind, you go, well, he threw it it's 2 games in a row. No, it doesn't matter. You're supposed to turn the page. So not easy, I understand, but if they feel as though that affected his decision, that's not helping his case because you're not supposed to. You're supposed to, as law enforcement, you're not supposed to. If me personally, if I already been harassed by this woman, she's known as being in the front, cutting off the cop these cars, and these are very experienced. It's a very experienced unit, so it's happened in other cities.
Right.
So listen, I know what you're up to. Don't know exactly what she said to you. I know what you're up to. You better knock it off. You got to come with me. You're mouthing off. Get out of the car. You're done. Instead, drive straight ahead towards the cop who was not even in on the conversation. And then he opens up fire. Let them debate that. But to say it's murder and not to understand that the whole rhetoric that started when Trump got elected and started putting ICE in the streets to do their job, you should be more outraged that there was a president that let 9 million illegals in.
Yes.
Maybe you should take a look at the police blotter and see how many rapists and murderers he's already picked up from other countries that they were protecting.
I said earlier, I understand your point about being dragged in the previous incident, and, this will never get to court, but let's say it did get to court, that would probably not be, introduced. However, I do think, when the vice president referred to that, you're a professional, you're right, you're supposed to go by your training, but you can understand that he might be a little, just by human nature, be a little bit more sensitive because he was almost killed by a vehicle, which is maybe why he drew his weapon a little earlier. Brian Kilmeade back with us this afternoon. One of the things I love about our conversations, because they take place later in the week, is things that happened earlier in the week, like Venezuela, which was just Saturday, seems like it was months ago, Brian, because so much has happened since then. But your thoughts on what happened there and the response to, what's been happening this week with the oil situation in the tankers and what might happen even beyond that?
Well, I mean, actually, I usually can see the options very clearly, and then I can say, okay, this is what I would do. I wonder what they're going to do. I did not see this as an option. I thought if you said to me, and you may have, what's going to happen with Venezuela? And I say at one point, the president's got to win this. If he does not take out Maduro in some way or he doesn't take the off-ramp, he stared down the president. He'll be more powerful than ever before. After 15,000 troops, soldiers in the area, sailors in the area, the president, he's got to get out. But I thought it would be the one who won the election who would take over. But the more I think of it, he knew on the ground through the CIA and the people that we know there that she did not have the mass popularity or control of the military or the cops. So what happened is if she got plugged in there immediately and did her 100-day plan, you're looking at street fights. And she didn't think that she's right, they're a party. The Republican Party doesn't have armed services. The Republican Party doesn't have a National Guard if they took over. So this party won an election, and this guy won an election. He wasn't even in the country. So the president says, look, we've been looking at her. She knows her economics, and we think we can deal with her. I think they've been dealing with her a lot directly. We're not going to know until they write the book. Now, I thought, okay, get rid of the other guys, and I think they will. But he does not want to deliver the mail. He does not want to sign the paychecks. He does not want to provide security. He does not want to make sure the buses run on time. So we said, you do it. And we took Maduro out, and you better listen to me. And they go, well, why would you listen to him? Well, we got the military thing, and I thought that was it. And then I thought the oil, well, that's kind of like what everybody says. America just wants the money.
Right.
But the more you think of it, he says the oil is the only leverage you have because it's the only industry they have. So you're not going to get a dime. These people are going to throw you out if we have your oil. So we put the blockade in, and then they say, listen, why don't you take 50 million barrels? Thanks. And then we're going to refine it, and Venezuela is going to profit. And yes, we'll take. If we drill the oil, we'll work out deals. Exxon, Conoco, they all did the deals already. Maybe early on to pay us back for the military inconvenience, we get more of it. But we're going to make it instead of 300,000 barrels a day, it's going to be 3 million in a short period of time. That's going to bring revenue for everyone, but not if we leave in 10 days. And Exxon says, I'm not going back if you guys aren't going to secure the place. I'm not going to worry about my people being kidnapped when they go to bed at night. So we can't do it. So this makes sense to me. You slowly loosen the noose.
Yeah. No.
And then you keep that. Look at Colombia's message. Whoever thought the Colombia president, that lunatic, was going to call the president yesterday?
Yeah,
well,
they
the New York
spoke.
Times is there.
Right. I know. That's fascinating, isn't it? Hey, I know you might have your differences with Mayor Mamdani, but are you going to help him make sure that people out there in your neck of the woods can afford World Cup tickets? Because you're a big soccer guy. I can't imagine you're not going to work part and parcel with the new mayor to make sure that government is involved in awarding World Cup tickets, Brian.
Absolutely. And you know what? If the Knicks play the Lakers in the finals, it's not fair that a guy making $45,000 a year can't afford tickets. So he should be forced to take Spike Lee's tickets. So I mean, they
it's
the way democracy works, the way capitalism works. So yeah, you could say I'm complaining. You could make a phone call to the World Cup. Can you get me some working class tickets? And that happens. They have inner city tickets and for basketball games and hockey games. That happens. But just to go out and just say that it's not fair. I mean, the guy fundamentally, to his core, is a socialist, communist. To his core. The people he hired are so ill-equipped to do anything productive in life, but known to be left-wing radicals. This woman who they hired for rental justice.
Oh, don't even get me started. Yeah, I know. We played the soundbite from the last couple of days. It's unbelievable, but he is who we thought he would be. Anything set for Sunday night?
Yeah, we got a great show. James Blair, the Deputy Chief of Staff from the White House. Tom Cotton is going to be with us. I have, who is also going to be joining me, we have a whistleblower from Maine who says the corruption proportionally in Maine is worse than Minnesota, and it revolves, drumroll please, around the Somali community. They have a huge Somali population. And why does it affect it? The governor is running for the Senate there. And the governor, like the Governor Walz, has looked the other direction and let it happen. So we have that whistleblower coming forward. We've got Tommy Laren's going to be joining us too. And I think that's about a wrap.
That sounds like a full show. That sounds like a full show. Well, Happy New Year. I hope all is well in your world, and we'll talk soon. We'll talk next week. Thanks, Brian.
All right, go get it.
All right, take care. One Nation, Sunday night, here in St. Louis. It airs at 9 p.m.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Accident reported Gravois at Hampton, which is Hampton on one side, Germania on the other. And there was an accident or a stall westbound 44 past 141. And the right lane has been blocked, so we've got a jam out there. Leaving downtown, 70 westbound slowing at Jennings Station Road, a little bit west of 94, Highway K, and Wentzville to a point west of there. Now, that stall that was there on westbound 44 in the right lane has caused a delay. Back to about Bowles, but things are looking a little better. On southbound 170, which is just now moderate volume, approaching Olive through 64. Southbound 270, slow pockets from Page, on down through 64. Now, we are quiet on the Illinois side, quiet through North County. And out west, 64 just a little slow at Highway N. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Former St. Louis County Police Chief Tim Fitch is always one of my favorite people to break these things down. He was unavailable yesterday, but he's going to join us next on 97.1 FM Talk, his take on Minneapolis.
If you're considering an annuity as part of your retirement plan, we need to talk. Hi, I'm Bob Stockdale, Senior Vice President Investments with the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel and host of On the Money, Saturday mornings at 11 on 97.1 FM Talk. Annuities can be a useful tool for some retirement investors, but not all annuities are created equal. Every week, we meet clients who own complex annuities that don't suit their needs and, in some cases, actively undermine their retirement plan. Before you purchase an annuity, get a second opinion from the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel. Requesting a consultation is free of charge. To request a free consultation, contact us at clearpathinvesting.com. That's clearpathinvesting.com, or call us at 636-695-2650. That's clearpathinvesting.com or 636-695-2650. Stiefel Nicholas and Company Incorporated, member NYSE and SIPC.
It's 2026. Time to get your home zero resified. 3 rooms of carpet clean, starting at just $119, plus a free hallway and 15% off regularly priced services when you mention 97.1 FM Talk. It's ZeroResSTL.com.
If you suffer from burning, tingling, or numb feet, pay special attention as we discuss neuropathy with Dr. Patton, D.C. Doctor, what is neuropathy?
Peripheral neuropathy is nerve damage to the feet and legs.
What are the symptoms?
The symptoms are numbness, burning, tingling, pain, and loss of balance.
Is neuropathy treatable?
It's absolutely treatable, and we have amazing results.
If you have burning, tingling, numbness, coldness in your feet or hands, or balance issues, call us at Comprehensive Integrated Health today for a nerve damage screening. The screening will tell if you're at risk for serious complications and if you're a candidate for our cutting-edge treatment program. Don't wait until your symptoms are so severe nothing can be done. End-stage neuropathy leaves people confined to walkers, wheelchairs, and even amputations. The first 10 callers will receive a free nerve damage screening. Call 636-538-5188. That's 636-538-5188 for your free nerve damage screening. 636-538-5188.
Hi, I'm Joe Cordell of Cordell & Cordell, America's largest family law firm. During this time of year, difficult relationships sometimes become impossible. If you or someone you care about is facing a family law issue, let us set up a 1-hour Cordell Consult. The Cordell Consult is a meeting with a local attorney who will give you clear guidance about your options, whether it's a separation, a postnuptial agreement, divorce, or custody. CordellCordell.com.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements. 600 Kelwood, St. Louis.
It's time for a $98 furnace tune-up.
This portion of the show is sponsored by Jerry Kelly, heating, air conditioning, electrical, and plumbing.
From Belleville to Bridgeton, 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Minnesota must be part of this investigation. I think it's clear to everyone as they saw this that it feels now that Minnesota has been taken out of the investigation. It feels very, very difficult that we will get a fair outcome.
Why in the world would Minnesota be invited to be part of an investigation when at every point they've tried to thwart federal law enforcement? He's literally said that ICE is invading his city. Jacob Fry said, F off, we don't want you here. And Tim Walz and the rest of his party, I mean, I didn't play this, I don't think, when we led into the beginning. You listen to these guys talking murder, murder, murder.
This officer not only needs to be fired and suspended, he needs to be charged with murder.
What we saw today was a criminal murder a woman and shoot her in the head.
We have seen them terrorize so many of citizens in the 5th District and across Minnesota, and that has tragically led to this murder that we all watched on TV.
So let's say that it's not a good shoot just for a moment here, right? Let's just take the fact that she's in the middle of the street blocking traffic after dropping off her 6-year-old and address the responsibility of that. But nobody wants to do that. Again, I'm not arguing she deserved to get shot for that. That would be utterly ridiculous. But former St. Louis County Police Chief Tim Fitch is here. He's watched the videos. He's always a great analyst for this. Tim, you sometimes call situations like this awful but lawful. Does that fit perhaps in this situation?
Absolutely, Mark, especially when you the first video that they put out and distributed widely. And that's the one I'm talking about. You really couldn't see the officer in front of the vehicle.
Right.
And then you saw different angled camera shots pop up through the night. Made it very clear that, in my opinion, that he was most likely, and we'll wait for the final investigation, justified in what he did under Graham versus Connor. And I don't know if you're familiar with that case law through the Supreme Court, but clearly, these issues, these force issues, are evaluated from a reasonable officer's perspective on the scene, not hindsight. So, but what I do fully expect to happen, Mark, I do fully expect the chief district attorney in Hennepin County, which is where Minneapolis is to charge this ICE officer. Remember, when she got elected, she had been the chief public defender, and then she got elected to be the chief prosecutor, kind of an interesting twist. And she ran on the some of her, what she said when she was running was that she was going to charge more officers with crime. So I fully expect him to be charged with a crime
probably murder, some sort of manslaughter, whatever they call it in Minnesota. But also understand that if he's a federal officer, which he is, acting in the performance of his duties, he basically has, the supremacy clause takes effect because he's a federal officer. They could charge him all they want. The best that could happen is what would happen is then the federal DOJ people would appeal it to the federal court, take it out of the state court, and then the federal court would say he was justified. This isn't a crime, a federal crime, and it's over. So I think we heard J.D. Vance say earlier today that he has absolute immunity. And
Yes,
I wouldn't
he
say,
did.
that I would agree with that exactly, but when you're right and you're a federal officer, he probably does have immunity.
Yeah, so let me go back to the Supreme Court case because I am familiar, and I talked about this yesterday. Case versus Gardner. This was a Tennessee case from back in the mid-1980s, and there was a situation where in Memphis there was a 15-year-old kid that was burglarizing a business or a home, and he was running away, and they shot him as he was running away. So the court rules that deadly force used to prevent escape violates the Fourth Amendment. But then they say the standard, police can use deadly force when they have probable cause to believe the suspect poses a significant threat of serious physical injury or death to themselves or others. And that would be the situation that we have right now.
Yeah, that's the Graham versus Connor Supreme Court case. That piece is where it's judged basically on the objectionable reasonableness standard, and it's based on a reasonable officer's perspective on the scene, not somebody standing off, one of the protesters going, I don't think that's reasonable. No, it's from a reasonable officer's perspective, and no hindsight's allowed. It's easy to judge these things in hindsight, but that officer had literally split second to decide what he was going to do.
So one of the things, I want to get your response to this, and J.D. Vance actually responded to this person. I don't even know who the person is who tweeted this, but they said this: I'm a former defense attorney and currently a civil liberties attorney with no political dog in this fight. I watched the video at least 10 times from different angles and at different speeds and waited to offer an opinion, which I still reserve the right to change if additional information changes the calculus. That's fair enough, right? It's very clear that the officers instigated the confrontation. The woman initially tried to wave them past her. Well, that is not true. She was waving the people who weren't the officers through. She was blocking the ICE officers. But this is the part that caught my attention. He says, or she says, I'm not sure if this is a woman who is posting this, ICE officers have no authority to search a U.S. citizen or arrest her unless there's probable cause to believe she's harboring undocumented individuals, not a contention here. Is that true, that they cannot arrest her? Because they reached for the door. They were going to probably arrest her. Why wouldn't they have the right to arrest her as federal agents if they're blocking their actions?
There's been plenty of people they've already arrested. The DOJ have charged for exactly that. So I don't have a clue where he would get that one from.
Yeah, that's
or he or she.
That
I don't know.
It's bizarre. And what J.D. Vance said is, in response to this person, her name is Janine Yaunis. I didn't see the name. He said the gaslighting is off the charts, and I'm having none of it. The guy was doing his job. She tried to stop him from doing his job. That is indisputable. When he approached her, she tried to hit him. A tragedy, absolutely, but a tragedy that falls on this woman. And all of the radicals who teach people that immigration is the one type of law that rioters are allowed to interfere with. And that point there can't be emphasized enough, I don't think.
Yeah, I agree. I don't get that one at all.
So when it comes to the rest of the aftermath of this, because you know how this is, you and I have talked about these things so many different times. People are only viewing this through their political lens. Now, I'm open, like that person who tweeted. I said, look, if there's new information here or new forensics or new video or something that changes the perspective or the narrative, I'm open-minded. I was always open-minded to hear what happened with Darren Wilson and Mike Brown. But we knew that things probably were off the given narrative from the beginning of that, and that's what's happening here.
Yeah, hey, Mark, if you want to have a good time, go back and look at a story a week ago, local story. Illinois State Police trooper shot and killed a woman in East St. Louis for doing the exact same thing that this woman did in Minneapolis.
Really?
How much did you hear about that?
Nothing. I'm going to look it up right now because I haven't heard about it at
Why have you
all.
heard so much about this one, but not the one in East St. Louis, which was almost identical circumstances? It's because it's Minneapolis and it's ICE. That's what has generated all of this political interest in this.
Yeah, that's fascinating. All right, so I'm glad you brought that to my radar because I'm going to read this story here and share it with the audience. Chief, always great to have you on. I appreciate it.
All right, Mark.
All right, take care. Happy New Year. Yeah, so Sue, are you familiar with that?
No.
40-year-old woman was shot by an Illinois. I did hear reference to this over the weekend, but I don't know the details. Okay?
Right.
40-year-old woman fatally shot by an Illinois State Police trooper after allegedly striking a vehicle and driving toward a trooper in a stolen vehicle. According to an Illinois State Police news release, troopers were investigating a report of a stolen vehicle when they attempted to stop it near a convenience store. The details go on. The driver put the vehicle in reverse. Does that sound familiar?
Oh, boy.
Struck a car and then drove toward a trooper who fired his weapon, striking Terrence. So that is a very similar situation to the one that we're dealing with in Minneapolis. By the way, did you see the video of the car that had the kids in it and the guy that was abusing the young kid and there was a 15-year-old with him?
What?
Okay,
no.
so this was on Fox this morning. I'm going to have to look up the details. I'll tell you what, I'll take a break because that one is shocking. And it's really a little bit hard to describe on the radio because the video is so weird, but I'm going to share that here coming up. Don't forget, we have a Thursday edition of Sue's News coming up. We have a Friday Reardon Roundtable tomorrow. I've been teasing this a little bit. A rather significant announcement to start the show tomorrow that will be made by a high-ranking official in Missouri.
Oh, really?
Namely, the Attorney General.
Yeah.
The Attorney General of Missouri will kick off the roundtable with a significant announcement.
Yeah.
I don't know if I like the announcement.
I don't know if I like it.
Well, we'll find out tomorrow.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
I don't think I'm being indicted.
No.
I don't think.
No, I think they would have told me.
Well, we'll see.
We've got an accident westbound 270 up north just past Riverview. Now, of course, that is in the construction zone. It's going against rush hour, but if you're headed in from Illinois, that's the cause of the delay coming off of the bridge up there, Chain of Rocks Bridge. Westbound 70 slowing at Jennings Station Road, moderate volume at Cave Springs at K, and from Wentzville to just west of there. 64, that's more like Kings Highway out through McCausland, but this is pockets out through 270. Highway N as well. Southbound 270 is really lined up. It's heaviest between Page and 64. 44 is fine. They cleared up that accident past 141. Now we have one reported closer to Bowles causing delays. This report is brought to you by Lakeside Renovation and Design. For over 25 years, they've been St. Louis's trusted choice for transforming homes inside and out. Windows, siding, kitchens, baths, outdoor spaces, quality craftsmanship backed by lifetime warranties. Visit lakesiderd.com to start your dream project today. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's Traffic 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Thank you, Sue. Well, very quickly here, Mark and Annie and I are going to be telling you about the first seminar for the Retirement Advisory Group of 2026. We try to do 5 a year. We've been knocking them off very successfully. We've got a group of people together in a room, and we introduce Thomas and his team. And then Thomas gives you a philosophy of investment and your retirement strategy that maybe you haven't heard before, and it's one that you should be open-minded to. When we do these events, I have to give credit to Mark Cox because Mark worked in the financial services industry, and he doesn't criticize the company he worked for, but he does say, look, there's a lot of profits being taken off the top that you're not getting. Thomas has another way of doing this. You should hear about it. There's no obligation, but if you do come into the office one-on-one, they'll get you a free copy of their book, Your Key to Your Key to a Retirement. I'm not messing up, or I am messing up the name of the book, unfortunately, just because my brain is, I think, in cough mode because I got the crap that everyone else has. The bottom line is get in with the team. RetirementKey.com. Make an appointment. If you're more comfortable with the group setting, you can do that as well.
Let's show our appreciation for local heroes. Mark Cox here. Nominate a first responder and their department could get lunch from Grill Master Tony's. I'll personally deliver it. Share their story at 971talk.com. Nominate them today.
I'm John Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. If you've been injured in a car accident, call America's largest injury law firm. For over 35 years, my mission has been to deliver more for our clients, to deliver more for you. If you or anyone in your family has been injured in a car accident, call us now, as the time to file a claim may be limited. Last year, more clients hired Morgan & Morgan than ever before, protecting America, fighting for you. Morgan & Morgan. Visit forthepeople.com for an office near you.
Nothing makes a gathering great like Eggland's Best Eggs. They're just so delicious with better nutrition, too. For us, it's eggs any style, as long as they're the best. Eggland's Best. Better taste, better nutrition, better eggs.
Mark Reardon is St. Louis Conservative.
so frustrating, Sue, because I saw this morning, this story. Let me see if I can find it here. Man, I don't know. Yeah, here it is. Okay, so this is frustrating because I saw this story on Fox this morning. But basically, there were police, and I think that this happened in Georgia. They pulled this guy over who had a younger child in the car. They were concerned about child abuse. While they were pulling out the driver, he tried to run away, and then the 15-year-old kid, who apparently was working with the dude, who we have pretty good indications, by the way, was not here legally in this country, go figure, tried to drive away. So the 15-year-old kid drives away. The cops chase him, and he goes into the woods, and the car, it looks like it flips over a couple of times because he's driving so quickly. The kid, I think, is okay, but it's kind of a crazy story, and I don't know why I didn't find it so much so quickly when I was just looking at the Google. Sometimes you got to be real specific.
That's how that works.
Yeah, real specific with the wording. Okay, let me get to a couple of different issues here that are related to this shooting, because one of the things that happens, and NBC did this last night, CBS did it last night, New York Times has done it, the Washington Post. They break down these videos sort of frame by frame, right? And the New York Times makes the case, and I think the Washington Post is doing this afternoon too, that there's no doubt that he is not in jeopardy for his life. Now, like I've said, and I think of other people have said that I don't think this is an act of domestic terrorism. I think that went too far. Did she have a political motive for being in the middle of the street? Yeah, of course she did, right? I don't think she was trying to run the police officer over either. That doesn't really matter when it comes to the consequences of what happened, because that vehicle, 2,000 pounds plus, could be a weapon and could easily kill him. Now, we also know the information, and this would not necessarily be something you can enter into court, but this guy, and I saw the video of this, this is caught on video too, in a similar situation where they were picking up a felon in Minneapolis. He got the guy tried to get away, and this ICE agent, was dragged 300 feet, ended up in the hospital with like 35 stitches. So when they go down their breakdown and their analysis of this, and I'm going to do this with the time codes that you can't see because there's no use in doing that over the radio, but let me tell you what the narration is. So at about 1:38 in the video that they put in here in their analysis, they say, let's look at the scene more closely. This is the agent who shoots the driver. He walks around the car filming, disappears from view. Other agents pull up and order the driver to exit a vehicle. That's true. 1:55. One of them grabs the door handle and reaches inside. The SUV reverses, then turns right, apparently attempting to leave. Well, that's misleading, because while the SUV does reverse, when the driver puts it into forward gear, the wheels are turned to the left. You can see that. That's not even disputable. You can also see the wheels spinning on the ice, and then she begins turning to the right. Does that make sense? You look a
little bit. Okay.
So, let me explain it this way. The New York Times analysis says it's pretty clear that the SUV reverses and then turns to the right, apparently attempting to leave. That's not true, because it does reverse, but when the driver puts it into drive, the wheels are still aimed to the left.
Oh, I see.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Before she begins turning it to the right. Now, that matters because when she's spinning her wheels, that's the moment that the agent pulls out his weapon. And when he draws, she is not turning right. She's turning in the other direction. And I still think she was trying to get away. I don't think she was trying to, maybe she was trying to roll him over. But what they do is, and this is convenient for the Washington Post, the New York Times, and the others, they conveniently skip over the moment when the agent decided that he was being threatened. All of the analysis that I've listened to on CNN, when I've heard AOC and all the rest, they all skip over that. They don't want to talk about how the officer was hit by the vehicle as well. So this is what they say. He opens fire on the motorist. Again, this is the New York Times breakdown. Continues shooting as he drives past. The moment the agent fires, he's standing here to the left of the SUV, and the wheels are pointing to the right away from the agent. Well, they say this appears to conflict with allegations that the SUV was ramming or about to ram the officer. I do think that the administration overstated that a little bit, but he pulls his gun when the car is moving toward him. And as we indicated, Sue, we talked about this quite a bit yesterday because we've both gone through this FBI training where you do simulated shootings and you have to make snap decisions.
It is eye-opening.
Yes, it's very eye-opening. So, what perspective, and to me, one of the key pieces of evidence here is because a lot of people are like, oh, he's shooting through the side window. Well, the bullet that killed her went right through the front window, directly at her, because that's the way that the officer, he didn't reach his arm around to do that, right? He was pointing the gun right at her. So the moving car is, I don't say speeding toward him, but it's certainly veering toward him. And then they say this. President Trump and others said the federal agent was hit by the SUV, often pointing to another video filmed from a different angle. And it's true at this moment, in this grainy, low-resolution footage, it does look like the agent is being struck by the SUV. But then they say this, but when we synchronize it with the first clip, we can see that the agent is not being run over. In fact, his feet are positioned away from the SUV. Now, we've gone from, John Sexton kind of broke this down today on highlighter.com. We've gone from an admission by the New York Times that it does look like the agent is being struck to a little different statement that the agent is not being run over. And I don't know how you can determine that without being in front of the vehicle. I was kind of hoping that you'd have a video that would emerge from, a different perspective across the street. I don't know. There would have to be body camera stuff too, right?
I would think.
Yeah. I mean, I've heard that referenced to, but I have not seen anything. So I don't know where this might go next as far as information. All right, we're going to take a break here at the top of the hour. When we return in the 4 o'clock hour, I got a few things I want to cover before we get to Sue's News. We'll have Sue's News on a Thursday afternoon. Jen Say is going to be with us, the founder of XXXY Athletics, the producer of Athlete A on Netflix. She's a award-winning U.S. champion gymnast, and she did a documentary on Larry Nassar, but she's gotten very active in the gender wars. And do you know that, I don't know what it is about Planet Fitness, Sue, but Planet Fitness
again
has put in writing that women's discomfort is not a reason to ban men from their changing rooms.
Oh, okay. What is?
Exactly. What is a very, very valid question, because there was another video that went viral from Planet Fitness of a man that, I don't know if you've seen this one. Have you seen this one?
No.
Unbelievable. So there's a woman that goes into the woman's restroom. There is a man in the stall. And unless this is AI, and it's not, you could be suspicious, you can see a distinct shadow of the man with his penis pulled out, and he is tugging at said penis rapidly for a long time, 20 minutes in this stall. And she admits, this is the other thing, not supposed to film people in the locker room, right?
But.
Well, when the guy's jacking off right in front of you in a stall, I think that you video that. But Planet Fitness stands by the tranny who's jerking off in the room. It's unreal.
I don't even know what to say.
I don't know what to say about that either. And I apologize to children who might be listening, but if you haven't seen that video, it's exactly the way I described it. It's horrifying. And then you have the Planet Fitness people that come into the restroom, and they don't even challenge the dude. He basically tries to defend himself. I wasn't doing anything wrong. I wasn't doing that. And he's a male. I mean, if you look, there's no doubt that
that's what he
is
was doing.
A full-blooded American male that wants to think that he is a female. But that doesn't work.
And finds
it
exciting to do that in the women's restroom.
I guess so. Hey, one of the stories that came out yesterday, we have the legislative session getting underway, and they are trying in Jeff City, they've been trying to do this for a while, to get rid of most of the vehicle safety inspections in Missouri. Greg Damon, do you know Greg?
Why do I know that name?
He's awesome. He's been the KMOX auto guy for decades, right? Greg and I have worked together. He is the GM at Sparks Tire and Auto in St. Charles, but he always has great opinions on stuff like this. He'll join us in the 4 o'clock hour. Also, Chris Clem, former Yuma Sector Border Patrol Chief, has some thoughts about the shooting in Minneapolis. Brian Ping, St. Louis native, who helped us a year ago. Remember what happened a year ago out there? Those fires in Pasadena.
Oh, yeah.
Altadena and in the Palisades. And Brian's going to kind of give us an update 1 year later. He was awesome as a correspondent last year.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Well, we've got a report of emergency vehicles northbound Lindbergh at 6440 in the right lane, and then some that are leaving the interstate westbound 6440 at Spady. Then we had a stall reported westbound 6440 at Lindbergh. So a lot of action going on in that area, and it's caused a delay. If you are leaving town or downtown on westbound 64, we've got slow pockets that start approaching Kings Highway and go out through Lindbergh. Yeah, it's a long way. Now we have an accident reported westbound 70 at Jennings Station Road. And a jam behind it. Then some volume to the west of there, although in pockets and mostly moderate. We've got southbound 270 lined up from Page down through Doherty Ferry. A little bit slow, though, at Gravois as well. 44 westbound, moderate volume headed for 141. 55 is slowing at Bates. And let me check up north. Yep, that accident westbound 270 past Riverview causing a parking lot jam back across the chain of Roxbridge. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's Traffic. 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Hey, Stewie, I need some cash. I need money. Who doesn't need money? What can you do for me?
You know, Annie, this is a question people ask all the time. Now, pay attention because this is important. Don't get a home equity line of credit. A home equity line of credit is a credit card on your house. It's typically not a fixed rate, so it's an adjustable. You pay interest only. And there's a short-term opportunity to take the money out, and then later on, it turns into a loan that's a really high interest rate. Cash out refinance. That's the most important thing. Refinance your entire mortgage. Get the best rate that's out there. Give yourself the opportunity to refinance later when the rates drop. A cash out refinance is a little bit higher of a rate than a rate and term refinance. Do the cash out now, set yourself up for the future, and get the best deal out there. Just do me one favor. Don't tell my wife about this because she's going to want all the cash in the world to buy a new car.
Well, if you want to know more, Google the Bagel Loan to find out more information or call my friend Stewie, 314-324-4440. That's 314-324-4440. Google the Bagel Loan for more information. NMLS number 226715.
License number E2014A.
Hey, it's good to see you.
At Grasser Home Services, we're looking for happy plumbers to join our team. Plumbers who are polite, honest, and do the job right.
And love dogs. They must love dogs.
Plumbers who treat customers' homes with respect, care about the details, and show up on time.
Know a happy plumber who's great with dogs?
Have them call Grasser Home Services.
Green is always Grasser at GrasserHomeservices.com.
Hey, it's Mark Reardon. If you're nearing retirement or already retired, call my friends Thomas Helbig and Bob Kershaw with the Retirement Advisory Group. They'll show you how linking to the market is much safer than owning the market for your retirement savings. They're the official financial advisors of my show. Go to retirementkey.com.
Do you owe $10,000 or more to the IRS like Mark?
I've been doing home remodeling for 30 plus years, but the economy crashed. I wound up losing my home, losing my job, and on top of that, owing the IRS a ton of money. I owed the IRS $114,000. It really, truly was the worst part of my life.
Then Mark found tax relief advocates.
On news radio, I heard about TRA, and I thought, what's the worst that could happen? So I picked up the phone and I called them. When it was all said and done, TRA settled my $114,000 debt for $100, and I'm telling you, I was ecstatic. Could not believe it. Would recommend TRA to anyone.
If you owe 10 or even hundreds of thousands of dollars to the IRS, don't lose hope. Do what Mark did and call TRA for a consultation.
But TRA did. They gave me a second chance, and I'm forever grateful.
Visit TRA.com or call 800-491-9914. 800-491-9914. That's 800-491-9914.
KFTK FM Florissant from the Kaufman Townsley St. Louis's Injury Lawyers Studio. Call 314-777-7777.
That's 314-777-7777.
Next step in Minnesota. I'm Lisa Brady, Fox News. Governor Tim Walz just confirming he's authorizing the state's National Guard to be staged and ready to support local law enforcement if needed. This as the situation remains tense after a woman was shot and killed in Minneapolis by an immigration enforcement agent.
I feel your anger. The human desire to lash out in this moment is very real.
Walz urging protesters to remain peaceful as the Minneapolis mayor and some Democrats in Congress accuse the officer involved of murder. Vice President J.D. Vance calls the woman's death a tragedy, but also says she was a victim of left-wing ideology that he says is fueling violence against law enforcement.
What we're going to do is make it easier for the American People's Administration to enforce the American People's law. And that means that Democrats have to stop rallying the mob against legitimate law enforcement operations.
Vance says the officer in Minneapolis acted in self-defense. President Trump says Republicans should be ashamed of 5 senators who voted with Democrats to limit his war powers in Venezuela. Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer.
It's a clear rejection of the idea that one person can unilaterally send American sons and daughters into harm's way without Congress without debate.
Today's vote advances the resolution to another vote. The president says it would hamper U.S. defense and national security. The House just refusing to override President Trump's veto of two bills, one related to financing of a Colorado water pipeline, the other designating a site in Florida's Everglades National Park as part of an Indian reservation. A longtime House Democrat is retiring.
I have decided not to seek another term.
Maryland Congressman Steny Hoyer has been in office since 1981.
I make this decision with sadness, for I love this House.
Hoyer is now 86. He previously served as House Majority Leader. America is listening to Fox News.
It all comes down to this, folks.
Yep, the entire season is on the line. But my throat has officially thrown in the towel.
Sounds like you need Vicks VapoCool drops. They're max strength and vaporize sore throat pain.
Whoa! These VapoCool drops hit fast.
Speaking of fast, did you just see that play?
Yeah, he vaporized that ball.
That pun should have come with a penalty.
Vaporize sore throat pain with Vicks VapoCool drops. Use as directed.
The new year brings new health goals and wealth goals. Protecting your identity is an important step. Your info is in endless places that could expose you to identity theft, leading to lost funds. LifeLock monitors millions of data points per second. If your identity is stolen, our restoration specialists will fix it, guaranteed, or your money back. Resolve to make identity health and wealth part of your New Year's goals with LifeLock. Save up to 40% your first year with promo code NEWS. Visit lifelock.com. Terms apply.
Air Comfort Service, heating, cooling, and insulation, weather.
Unsettled skies stay with us right through midnight tonight, periods of rain, and there will be a couple of thunderstorms around. It's windy and 45. Friday, it's all gone, a mix of clouds and sunshine. Emphasis on the clouds, a windy day, 56. Friday night, clouds, maybe a couple of showers after midnight as another cold front comes in. It will be colder, 38. Saturday, partly sunny, couple of sprinkles, couple of snow flurries. This is 97.1 FM Talk. Chief Meteorologist Damon.
This hour of the Mark Reardon Show is sponsored by Gamma Tree Experts. Your trees deserve the best care. Call Gamma Tree Experts. This is the Mark Reardon Show on 97.1 FM Talk.
Thursday afternoon, as we get a little closer to the weekend, I don't know if Sue will be interested in tonight's college playoff football game. Are you?
Why? Who is it?
Well, I mean,
that's how much I know about it.
Well, so tomorrow night we had Alex in yesterday, and tomorrow night is Indiana and Ole Miss. So tonight would be Oregon. Am I getting these right, Fred?
No.
Your mic's not on. Am I getting it right?
Ole Miss in Miami?
Ole Miss in Miami. That's correct.
All right.
And Oregon and Indiana.
Yes,
tomorrow.
that's it. Thank you for doing
Well, I go Indiana and Miami.
Okay.
Those are my answers.
I'd kind of like to see Ole Miss get there only because of the whole Lane Kiffin deal, and just to do it without him, I think, would be a success. Plus, it's an SEC team, and we're not faring so well in this whole thing anyway. But it is weird to have, I think this is because of the NFL. I would prefer not to have a semifinal for a college football playoff on a Thursday night and then another one on a Friday night. But they have NFL competition, because the playoffs start this weekend.
Oh, that's a good point.
Right. So they pretty much had to do that. By the way, on a sports front, Fred, I didn't ask you about this yet. Were you watching when Mizzou played Kentucky last night?
No, I watched the whole Billikens game, so I didn't
And that
see
was a great game,
That was
too.
a great game.
So
yeah.
let's start with that.
Billikens play?
VCU on the road, and that was big, right?
Yeah, that was the first time they'd ever won in that arena away from home.
Oh, that's
at VCU.
huge.
Same thing with Mizzou. They had never, ever won at Rupp Arena. Now, some of that is skewed because they weren't always facing Kentucky because Kentucky wasn't always in the conference, right?
Well, that's fair, but
still, we've been in the SEC for what now, 10, 12 years, and they had never won at Rupp Arena. So, yeah. And here's the deal. I went to that Illinois game a few weeks ago, and I paid for tickets, like $500, to watch Mizzou suck beyond sucking.
Wow. Oh, boy.
But they're a different team. They had 3 kids injured, and this Stone kid, who's now, his wrist was broken or something like that, he's a starter now. I don't even think he came off the bench. It was amazing. So there was a point about 6 minutes left where Kentucky takes an 8-point lead, and it's like, okay, here we go. We clawed back. We made good decisions. They looked great. They're 2-0 in the SEC. That's also never happened under any coach when we've been in the SEC. So we've never started 2-0 now.
Is there a dress code difference in the two leagues for basketball, kind of?
Why do you say that? That's
when it
interesting.
comes to the head coaches, like the SLU Billiken coach, is always like in a sweatshirt.
Right.
And the VCU coach was in a sweatshirt. And you get to like SEC coaches, aren't they like always like
not always
in a
suit or something
like that? Yeah.
I don't think so. Like Nate Oates at Alabama, he's a little bit more like sporty. I don't think so. Some of them are, but it used to be that way all the time.
Are you saying that's personal choice then?
I do think so. Yeah, I don't think they have a. But some leagues may have a dress code for coaches. That wouldn't surprise me. But back in the day, they all wore suits and ties. Coach Stewart, Billy Tubbs, you name it.
It looks nice. The suit
It
and
does.
tie.
It
I'm
does look
just
nice,
saying.
but it's kind of like, would you put a baseball manager in a dugout in a
you
suit
wouldn't.
and tie? Right.
So I get it.
But you could still
I think
look.
Connie Mack must have been the last one manager that dressed in a suit all the time.
Really?
Yep.
Wow. What
Yeah.
years? I mean, how long
30s.
ago was? Okay.
Yeah, that's
He was a
100 years
50-year
ago.
manager, so
Wow.
yeah,
All
30s in the 30s.
We'll have Sue's News coming up here in a couple of minutes. We have a Reardon Roundtable tomorrow. We're going to kick off the roundtable with a pretty significant announcement from the Attorney General of Missouri. I don't think I'm getting indicted. I'm going to keep my fingers crossed. Every time Catherine shows up, she came to our birthday party a couple months ago. I'm like, that wasn't on the schedule. I thought, am I being indicted for
I
something?
know.
It wouldn't
I
be
kind
out
of
of the
thought
question,
that too
right?
when she got out of the car.
You thought I was going to be
there
taken
goes
down,
Mark. Yeah.
right? The
Yeah.
cuffs put on, dragged out of Lit Cigar Lounge. No, but it's not the best announcement tomorrow, in my opinion.
No.
It's not the worst, but we'll explain it all tomorrow. But I'm just trying to hype it up as much as possible so everyone will tune in and listen at 3
fair.
o'clock.
That's fair.
But it is significant, I will say that. So here's a story, and we'll talk about this on the roundtable. Fred, let's make sure this is on the list for tomorrow. Mixed feelings about this, I'll be honest with you, but I'd love to hear Jane's opinion because she represents the cops. This was a story in STL Today earlier this morning. City officials are scrambling after another surprise from the bill that returned the city cops to state control, and one that could cost taxpayers tens of millions of dollars. So when they passed that law, this is one of these, I can support what they're doing, but I can also disassociate myself from the process because what I hate is when they pass something like state control, but then they tuck all these other things into it, right?
Oh, that's annoying.
So what they did here is they included a provision reinstating what they describe in the local paper as a decades-old and costly benefit for upcoming department retirees, lifetime health insurance. So Paul Payne, who's the budget director for the city, says it's expensive. The city has been trying to phase it out under local control. He says it's a major deal. So, I mean, look, on the one hand, here's how you have to look at it. These cops are not paid very well, especially in the city. They're underpaid compared to the county and other departments, which is one of the challenges. They put their lives on the line on a daily basis. We're seeing examples of that this week. So one of the reasons they get a pension is because they're not making so much money.
Right.
They're public servants. I think that's fair. But in this particular situation, that is a huge, huge fiscal hit for the city of St. Louis to provide lifetime insurance for cops. If I'm a cop and I'm putting my ass out there, I want that. All right, so I'm not going to criticize the cops for saying that's a benefit that we should
It's
get.
also expensive.
But it's very expensive. So I
Yeah.
don't know how they're going to figure that out and kind of work, the budget aspects of that. Joe Steiger, who is with the St. Louis Police Officers Association, and that's who Jane kind of works with, says we're one of the lowest paid police departments in the region, and our officers do a dangerous job. You've got to have some way to recruit people, right? How can you argue against that? Right? So if you're going to offer a job to a cop and say, well, we can't pay you $10,000 more because we don't have the budget for that, you can do that in the county, but we can give you lifetime health insurance. Well, that, quite honestly, is probably a better deal.
Well, it is, so why don't they just pay them more?
You know what, Sue? That's a great question. This is the same question I had about the chief. Because, you get into the situation. Somebody said this today. Fred, I think I sent this to you, right? This was in the Missouri Scout, which is a political newsletter. And let me just read this because I think there's a lot of validity to this. I got a lot of screen captures here, so just give me a second. Fred, did I text that to you?
Yes, you did.
Okay, let me look at your text messages because that might be an easy way. I'm fumbling a lot today. You guys notice that?
Yeah.
I'm like fumbling
But
around.
It's probably, I don't know. Sometimes it happens.
Yeah, it does happen. Can you find it, Fred, what I said about that?
Yeah, Fred, can you find
in
it?
your text?
No one sent it to me,
here it is.
so
Here
I'm
it
out.
is. Yep. Okay. I don't know who said this, but it was in the Missouri Scout. So maybe it was Dave who does the Missouri Scout. But they said, how can the governor and his police board let the chief take a second job? I don't care if it's an easy make work job. The city deserves a police chief with one job, fighting crime. And the governor and his police board should figure out how to pay the chief enough that he can focus on his one true job. How can you disagree with that?
You can't.
So this is where, and again, I said this, we talked about it, we'll talk about it on the roundtable. I think paying someone like Chief Fitch or Chief Tracy or someone like that when they're in retirement as a consultant for a university and a criminology department, I think that's extremely valuable. I'm not criticizing that. Now, I don't know if it's worth $100,000 depending on what he's going to do, but they're saying that the money's not going to come from taxpayers. It will come from gifts and donations. Fair enough, right? My whole issue is being police chief of the city of St. Louis is a full-time job. It's a 24/7 job.
Yes.
Right? And it's not something where you should be distracted because you're not making as much money. So Kara Spencer, the governor, the Board of Aldermen should find a way. I can easily, you invite me over tomorrow to City Hall, I can scratch out a few people that are unnecessary in a variety of departments to come up with the money to pay Chief Tracy for the next 3 years. I promise you that. I think anyone could with half a brain. Of course. But they don't want to do that because the Board of Aldermen hates cops, too. So
well, that
that's
doesn't
another
help
aspect.
anything.
No.
Yeah.
It doesn't help anything at all, unfortunately. All right, coming up here in just a little bit, Jen Say, we'll talk about some things that I meant to talk about before the start of the year with her, but we have some Supreme Court cases that are related to gender that are going to start here very, very quickly next week. And then this Planet Fitness thing, it's unbelievable. They are sticking by the policy that it is not reasonable to ban men from changing rooms that ladies are in because women's discomfort is not a good enough reason. And then we have Greg Damon after 5 o'clock. So this was a story that we saw. I have an interest in this because I've been kind of complaining about it for years. But the safety inspections that you're required to get with your vehicles, they're trying to get rid of those altogether. Now, my deal would be get rid of the emissions checks because those are utterly ridiculous.
Yeah.
I mean, if you want to do an emissions check on a car that's 15 years plus old, sure. But anything
under 15, I'm kind of with you.
Ridiculous. It's a waste of time.
But you do see some cars on the road, and you think, wait, what? Should that be out here? But we also see people driving with no license plates at all.
Okay, but here's what I would say about that.
Yes.
Okay. Do you think, and this is going to the issue of the license plates, the people who don't have the license plates, they're not getting the inspection anyway.
Exactly.
Because they don't want to pay for it and they don't have the money for the taxes.
Exactly. So so the rest of us are driving cars, I think, generally.
That are safe. But we're forced to go make an appointment.
Yes.
And the dealers or the shops, they hate this crap too.
Yeah.
They make like $10 and it's a pain in the butt.
There are some totally sketch places that show up, and I know them in the city, but I'm sure they're elsewhere, that just do emissions. And I think that's how they survive, but maybe it looks like a front for other things, is what I'm saying. But these emissions keep them alive.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. I mean, when I came back to Missouri, and I don't remember this when I lived here. I lived in Missouri from 1979 until 1997. I came back 20 years ago this month, Fred, is when I got fired. My ass got canned at WTMJ. I'm on my 20th anniversary here. What was I going to say, though? What
Such
were
a
we talking
happy
about? Because
time.
I have no idea what I was talking
Is that
about.
paper? Which one is that? The 20th anniversary?
I don't know what that is. But what was I talking about right before that?
Emissions and popping up.
Yeah, I have no idea. I lost it.
All
I
right.
did. My brain went
Because we're going to talk about that
with
coming up.
Greg Damon.
Right,
That's
with Greg
it.
Damon. And the state of Missouri may be changing that in this upcoming legislation.
Right. But I was going to make a bigger point that was really going to be good,
Yeah.
and that's where I had the brain
gone.
fart, so it'll come back.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
If you're traveling through North County, things are quiet now. They cleared that accident westbound 270 at Riverview. Now, westbound 70 slowing at Jennings Station Road at K, Wentzville, out to a point west of there where there was an accident. 6440, that's more like Kings Highway in pockets through 270. Slowing again, Highway N. Southbound 270, most of the volume there is Olive through 64, but it's also slowing at Gravois. 55 is jammed, slowing at Bates, but now we've got an accident reported southbound 55 right at the 44 split, and that has caused a jam back under the Poplar and onto 44. We've also got an accident reported eastbound 6440 headed for the Poplar Street Bridge, causing delays. I'm Sue Thomas. That's traffic. 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
One of the biggest gifts you could give your family is peace of mind. That's why I trust and recommend Civia Law. They've helped so many families, including mine, right here in our community with estate planning, wills, trusts, powers of attorney, and elder law issues. I've seen how stressful it can be when a loved one passes without a plan. Families are left confused, sometimes tied up in probate court, and it can cost so much in time and money. But with Civia Law, you don't have to worry about that. They'll walk you through everything and even deliver your completed documents in just 2 weeks from your first appointment. And here's something special just for you. Mention the Annie Fry Show, and the first 10 listeners right now will get a free strategy session. That's a $300 value. 833-995-WILL. Just be sure to mention the Annie Fry Show when you call. Civia Law has 7 convenient locations across Illinois and Missouri, including in Edwardsville, Swansea, and Creve Coeur. Secure your legacy and protect the people you love. Call 833-995-WILL. That's 833-995-WILL, or visit civialaw.com.
The ACA Marketplace has announced significant increases on their monthly premiums for 2026, with deductibles over $10,000. You can enroll with Greg Hammond's Freedom of Choice plans now. You don't have to wait. One of their plans lets you use any doctor, has 0 outpatient deductibles, and it's 30 to 60% lower costs than most Obamacare plans. Other options are full coverage PPOs with national networks, copays, and 100% annual preventative care. Also, there's no income disclosure required, so no potential tax penalties. If you pay for your own health insurance, you're uninsured, you're on COBRA, or your employer coverage is just too expensive, call Greg and they'll provide all available options. Call 314-794-7784. That's 314-794-7784. Or go to greghammonds.com. That's greghammonds.com. He can custom design a plan managed and chosen by you, not the government.
Hey guys, Glover here for my friends Mark and Neil Gelman from the Gelman team of eXp Realty. If you want immediate cash for your home or to see what your home is actually worth in today's market, find out for free from the local experts. 314-336-1991. Go to thegelmanteam.com.
Looking for something smart, soulful, and full of heart? I'm Jen Hatmaker, host of For the Love, the podcast where we talk about what really matters. Love and family, faith and purpose. Every week, I'm joined by incredible guests for honest conversations that invite all of us to live with more intention, more laughter, and more connection. Join us on For the Love wherever you get your podcasts.
The Mark Reardon Show is St. Louis conservative.
It's been a year since the fires out in California. We covered those extensively with our friend Brian Ping, who is a St. Louis native, and he is an anchor and reporter for KNX Radio in Los Angeles. He's going to join us in the next hour, kind of give us an update 1 year later on how the rebuilding process is. And it's, you know, you had the Palisades fire was, I don't know if it was worse than the other one in Altadena, but the Altadena folks feel like they're being forgotten in all of this. That you
don't hear about it as much.
No, well, so we'll ask Brian about that here in the next hour.
These allegations are deeply concerning.
Does the president have any comment?
We're not going to comment.
It's not clear messaging.
No.
And now, Sue's News. Brought to you by Sue.
You guys, you know that giant dog bed I bought?
Yeah.
That can fit 2?
How'd it work?
It is a fail.
Oh,
Can I have the buzzer,
really?
please? There's nothing wrong with the bed itself. Thank you.
The dogs.
But the dogs,
right.
I mean, they like it, but Lulu feels the need to mark it because there's room for 2.
Oh, that's
so
not
she's
good.
trying to say it's mine.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, I can handle this for a day. I've washed that thing probably 5 times, the cover.
I think it's time to call
and
it.
I have called it.
Right, yeah.
I mean, Oscar doesn't. She does.
That's weird.
Isn't it
that's
weird?
Not typical behavior,
No.
right? So what happened, just out of curiosity, not that we want to get into, but 2 nights ago, not last night, there was a message that came in about a disaster involving dogs at the house. Was that okay?
No, it wasn't. No, it was not. Thank you, Frank.
Was that a little stomach virus thing?
I don't know.
Is it
but
solved?
we're now, yeah, I believe so, but we're crating until we're for sure.
Wise.
Yes.
Hey, I've been there with the puppy this summer, believe me.
You never know what they've snarfed down. Right. But yeah, so if there were 1 dog, I think I'd be okay. But 2, they don't mind sharing. But she was like,
she never pees in the house, right?
Not really.
Yeah, that's weird.
Yeah, it's totally weird. Okay. On this day in history, 191 years ago in 1835. Now, the reason I bring this up is because the U.S. national debt was completely paid off. And the last time that happened was in 1835 under Andrew Jackson, giving us a zero balance for the first and only time in history.
You know,
right?
If I could wave a magic wand and do just one thing in this country, it would be to give everyone off the day after the Super Bowl. No, it would be to have a constitutional amendment for a balanced budget.
Yeah.
And, it's ridiculous. We have to do that in Missouri. We have to balance the budget.
Yes.
So many of these problems could be solved if they were forced to balance the budget in Washington, but it'll never happen.
It won't. Nobody will get elected, they think. And then on this day in history, just because I love them, 64 years ago today, it's 1962. And 21-year-old Jack Nicklaus played in his first professional golf tournament. It was the L.A. Open. He came in 50th place and won $33.33.
And that's pretty big money probably back then, right?
Not bad for 50th
That's
place.
not bad for 50th place.
Go on, 1962. All right, we have talked about this a little amongst ourselves, but the U.S. Figure Skating Championships are going on at Enterprise Center. Now, this is a huge deal.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's the
they
championship,
named the team.
and then they name the Olympic team. Exactly, Fred. They started yesterday. It continues through Sunday. Sunday, I believe, is when they'll announce the skaters/teams who will be headed to the Olympics in Milan. So if you were to go to this thing, you could actually see up close a potential Olympic skater. That's so cool.
A lot of them, yeah.
And Mark asked about tickets. I looked it up, and there's still some for Saturday if you want to go, even Friday. But there's a 2:25 a Saturday and a 6 p.m., and it's U.S. Figure Skating Championships, Enterprise Center. Tickets ranged from like $50 to insanity.
Yeah. You know, my former shrink, she lives in Connecticut now, but she was right here in St. Louis. Her name was Dr. Stacy Smith. She's helped me immensely over the years. She was, and I don't even know if I've ever talked to her about this, but I Googled it. In the 1980s, in 1980, she was an Olympic ice dancer.
Oh, my gosh.
I don't think close to medaling or anything like that, but still.
That's impressive.
Really impressive.
Wow. I like that you call her Dr. Stacy.
Dr. Smith, yeah.
Tickets still available. Some of this, by the way, is airing on Peacock, of course, since everything's NBC. So if you want to try that, you can probably see some of it.
That's awesome because if you go to Peacock, if you haven't seen it live, I bet you can pull it up and press the button and
I hope
watch.
so.
Yeah, exactly.
I hope so.
Peacock does a really, really good job. They did this during the Summer Olympics. I expect they'll do it during the Winter Olympics of collating all the sports. I mean, there is so much content up there. It's great.
Oh, my gosh. Now, Matt Damon, this is kind of a random story, but Matt Damon slimmed down to his high school weight for filming The Odyssey.
I heard about that, yeah.
167 pounds. Dang.
Yeah, he says he's usually between like 185 and 200. Does it say how tall he is?
Oh, it didn't. I should look that up. He did a lot of weight training. He did, Fred, a strict gluten-free diet. That's how we do it.
That worked.
I was telling my neighbor how we slimmed Fred down for the helicopter thing. And then he found out it really wasn't a big deal and continued to eat carbs when he got back. It was a scam.
I was down to 155 over the summer when I was at the height of the mental illness situation. 155. I don't think I've been at 155 since I was in 6th grade because I was a fat kid.
Gosh.
Right?
How
I'm back up to
tall is
170.
Matt Damon. Good, because you look better now.
Yes. Oh, I know. I was like gaunt.
Yeah, you were gaunt. Matt Damon is only 5'10".
And that's what I am, 5'10". So 167, I kind of like that weight, but it's a little skinny for him.
It is skinny for him. And the other thing is, they put Matt Damon, they did some Odyssey. He brought some Odyssey vibes to the new promo for the Winter Olympics. Have you seen that yet?
I have not.
He's in there and doing the whole thing. I don't even think that movie comes out until the summer.
Are you saying Odyssey?
Odyssey.
Like, is he doing? Is he starring in the movie about our company?
No.
I'm kidding.
No. If I spell this one, then people get confused when we say Odyssey. All right. You might have seen yesterday that Nick Reiner's lawyer stepped down. Alan Jackson will no longer represent him. Well, Reiner, of course, is accused of killing both of his parents. It's a horrible case, but they never said why.
I know why.
Do you know why?
Yeah,
because
the
money
ain't going to pay him. Exactly.
You think that's right?
I guarantee it. There's
Oh, my
no way.
gosh.
Because he was given a public defender.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Someone else is going to swoop in if there's money on the line. I promise you that.
Okay, that's a good point. And his arraignment is now set for February 23rd. It never ceases to amaze me how this stuff gets put off and put off. Well, okay.
I made that point earlier. Like even with Maduro, the next time he's in court is March 17th.
March 17th?
Yes.
That's so late.
I know.
All right. People online.
Don't go to jail. See, that's my advice.
Let me write that down. People online are listing jobs that pay extremely well, but people don't realize it. And since we were talking about manual labor yesterday, I thought, okay, now not all of these are an easy pivot, but number one, septic tank installation and repair. Something you don't think about. Fred is not signing up for that.
I did that when I was younger, Sue.
Did you?
No, are you kidding me?
Of course not.
That
It's actual
sounds
work.
disgusting.
They say that you can get really well paid there. Number two, nuclear station security guards. Anything nuclear, they have to pay a lot.
Fair enough.
Lighting design and director for private events and broadcast sports. Now, we might be able to do that. Sorta? Maybe not. Surveying, not questionnaires, land surveying. That's needed. So if you went and got some, expertise in that.
Let's talk about that real quick.
Okay.
I'd shoot myself in the head. How boring is that to have like this tripod thing where you're looking through and then you go look at the other guy
but
about
it's big
200
money.
yards away?
Big money.
Oh, my God.
Elevator.
No offense to the surveyors out there. but-
Okay. Elevator technician, casino dealer, tennis coach, fiber optics cable splicing. What? Certified wastewater treatment operator, electric pole climber, aircraft mechanic. Somebody said if you got soft skills, get an accounting degree. There are so many opportunities if you can understand the financial intricacies of a business and communicate effectively.
Right.
None of us can do that.
And piggybacking off of what we said yesterday, one of the reasons you said you brought this up is because there was a story in the Wall Street Journal about a guy making $160,000 at a dealership fixing cars in Ohio, and they cannot find enough mechanics across the country.
Correct. And somebody else had said the guy with the most money is the retired plumber on your street. So plumbing, electrical, all of that
I
stuff.
believe it.
So I can't believe casino dealer
Was
is
up
well
there?
paid.
Yeah, I can't believe that either.
They would get tipped, probably because of the tips.
Okay, that didn't occur to me. So if you are thinking about something, that there's a lot in the trades and then all of that.
By the way, the casino folks are going to really score big with this no tax on tips.
I didn't think about
Fred,
that.
if you're in Vegas at a high roller table, they're flipping $100 to dealers all the time if they win hands.
And finally, in Sue's News, we have today's random fact. In the 1920s and 30s, people used to have cages built to hang out of their apartment windows, and they'd put their babies in them. They believed it helped them keep healthy and growing to get some air outside. Say nothing of a cage hanging outside your window.
Okay, that's a little weird. But
it is weird.
Many of the random facts are. Sue,
Yes.
thank you very much. Jen Say, after the break.
I'm Dan Loney with Your Money Now. New data from Cox Automotive on the state of the used car market shows a 2% increase in prices expected in 2026, but that stays in line with the historical increase dating back to 1998. You may remember the prices soared at the start of the pandemic, but have leveled out the last 4 years. Global defense stocks rallying today, extending gains after President Trump called for a $1.5 trillion defense budget in 2027. Northrop Grumman gained 2.33%. Lockheed Martin was up 4.33%. RTX advanced almost 1%, and Kratos Defense was the big winner, up 13.75%. The 2026 tax filing season begins on January 26th. That's the first day that individual tax returns will be accepted by the IRS. Stocks were mixed once again today. The Dow Industrials picked up 270 points, ending the session at 49,266. The Nasdaq lost 104 points, and the S&P 500 up a point. That's Your Money Now.
I know that hiring can be challenging. You sort through tons of resumes and you get too many so-so applicants. You're just waiting for someone to match your role perfectly. Well, now, there's a place where you can meet them fast. ZipRecruiter.
Need to hire right away. Start your search for strong candidates. The right fit awaits. Build your team. Build it sooner. Meet your match on ZipRecruiter.
Just head to ZipRecruiter.com/free right now to try it for free, and you're on your way to meeting your match. 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. So try it now. Go to ZipRecruiter.com/free. Once again, that's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Meet your match on ZipRecruiter. Try it free.
When you're approaching retirement, there are a lot of questions to answer. Do you have enough money to fund your income for life? How should you claim Social Security? And what's your plan for health care and long-term care? Hi, I'm Eric Robert, Director of Investments with the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel and host of On the Money Saturday mornings at 11 on 97.1 FM Talk. Don't leave your retirement to chance. It's crucial to understand and address relevant risks before you retire. Our team can help you get organized, guide you through critical retirement decisions, and create an investment portfolio designed around your needs. To schedule your free retirement plan consultation, go to clearpathinvesting.com. That's clearpathinvesting.com. Or call us at 636-695-2650. That's clearpathinvesting.com or 636-695-2650. Stifel Nicholas and Company Incorporated, member SIPC and NYSE.
According to MasterCard, nearly half of small businesses have been a victim of a cyber attack. As cybercrime escalates, ThrottleNet is calling on businesses to strengthen their security posture by taking a free online IT security audit right from your desk. This 3-minute online assessment provides an immediate score to see security gaps and vulnerabilities in your network. For 26 years, ThrottleNet has supported your business IT everything right here in St. Louis. In fact, no client of ThrottleNet has ever paid a ransom. So visit ThrottleNet.com/971 to take the free assessment today.
I'm Ultima Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. Every time one of my children started driving, it was terrifying. Thousands of accidents happen across the country. We see it every day. If you've been injured in a car accident, call us.
Dial pound law or visit forthepeople.com for an office near you.
It's time for a $98 furnace tune-up.
This portion of the show is sponsored by Jerry Kelly, heating, air conditioning, electrical, and plumbing.
Built on backbone, not buzzwords. 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis conservative.
Well, I probably can't admit this to the other guests, but when I'm power ranking the guests, for the lineup, Jen Say is always at the top of the list, and she's with us this afternoon, the founder and CEO of XXXY Athletics, to talk about some gender-affirming care nonsense and the like, which we often do. Jen, Happy New Year. How are you?
Happy New Year to you. Thanks for having me again.
I have to tell you just a quick story because I have, as you know, I'm a fan of the gear. And one of my favorite T-shirts is the gray T-shirt with the blue and the red logo on it. And I wear it all the time. And about 4 weeks ago, it went missing. And I'm like, where the heck is it? And I thought maybe it was in my hunting clothes because I went hunting. And then I thought it was mixed up in my wife's clothes. So a few days ago, I said something about it. I'm like, back to my wife, I'm like, I still cannot find. And that was really, when I get frustrated like this, I can't get off it, right? My little angelic 10-and-a-half-year-old daughter comes out of the room and says, oh, is it this one that you're looking for? Yeah, I took that from you on purpose. And she was just trying to hide it from me. That devious little kid taking my XXXY gear, Jen Say. I don't even know how to react to that.
Well, you need to get more so everyone in the family can have one.
Well, you know what's funny about that is this is so true. Like, I'm the type of person, if I have something like that in my wardrobe and I do lose it, like if I leave it at a hotel, I order again. So it's not too far off the truth. All right, I was trying to explain this story to Sue and to the audience in the last hour, and I don't want to be too gross about it, but the fact of the matter is we have a video that went viral here a couple of days ago at Planet Fitness. I can't remember the location, where there is a man who is in a stall who is pleasuring himself, and you have this on video from the perspective that you see the shadow from the stall, right?
Yes. You can, yes. I'm trying to think of words I can say
I know.
to you.
I get it.
Yeah, he was doing something that you shouldn't do in a public place in the women's room or the men's room. I mean, let's be honest. Yep. You really want that in the men's room. But anyway, there's a man who claimed to be a woman who was in the stall doing his thing, and a young woman, teenager, called him out. And the whole thing was filmed, and he came out of the stall and was indignant, basically saying, I'm allowed to be here. What are you doing? You're basically like interfering with my time. with myself.
Well, and tried to deny his activity in the stall, which was going on for 20 minutes, and there's no doubt what was happening. I mean, that's indisputable.
Yeah, I think the whole thing is an encapsulation of the issue to some extent, and women needing their private spaces. Women need private spaces. We need spaces where we can be without men so that we can feel safe. That's not to say that all men are predators, but the idea that a male predator wouldn't take advantage of the idea of self-ID, which is the law in places like California, if you say you're a woman, you are, that he wouldn't take advantage of that to gain access to women is ludicrous. That's exactly what these men are doing, and that's what this guy was doing. That's what men who self-ID to get into women's prisons are doing.
Yeah, J.K. Rowling has highlighted that a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. There was actually a great story yesterday published in The Hill about this, which I was kind of amazed in the Hill that they published it. So I highly recommend folks check that out. It's on my X feed. That just is blatantly, men taking advantage of self-ID, the state going along, and then putting these predators. These are men who are in prison for sex crimes, being placed in cells with women and then raping them. The whole law, and the pushback on the left who defends it, they would say like, well, those people aren't true trans. I don't care. Yeah. I don't care. It doesn't matter. I'm not the one that should have to decipher who legitimately thinks he's a woman and who's just claiming it so that he can get into the women's bathroom. Just keep the men out of our spaces. So, and I don't know what happened in this case with Planet Fitness, but Planet Fitness in the past has proven themselves to take the side of the men claiming to be women and to banish women who complain. So we'll see what happens there.
Yeah, I don't know why it's always Planet Fitness. We had a situation here out in the Chesterfield area, West St. Louis County, where the same thing. And it was clearly a man who was trying to poke the bear. There was no doubt about it. He was trying to get attention, and he got attention. And luckily, I think they got him booted out of there. But it seems to be always Planet Fitness. All right, we are on the cusp of some pretty important cases going before the Supreme Court on some of these gender issues, correct? Does that kick off next week?
Yes. Opening oral arguments start on January 13th at 10 a.m. at the Supreme Court in Washington, D.C. There will be a rally on the steps of the Supreme Court. Many, many speakers. I will be one of them. These cases are monumental. This is a very important moment for the protection of women's rights. It's two cases being heard at the same time. Both of the states, one is Idaho and one is West Virginia, have laws on the books that protect women's sports. And in both instances, there are men in those states challenging the laws. So the reason this is so important is 27 states currently have laws on the books that protect women's sports. If we want those laws to remain on the books, we need to win these cases. Now, what will not happen if we win these cases is that the other 23 states that allow males to compete in women's sports, they'll still be allowed to do that. Right. This is the precedent that will be set that the states can decide, and not that the states who currently bar males from women's sports, they won't be. No one will be required or banned from doing anything. They can do what they want, but it's momentous. I mean, if we lose, it's really, really, really sets us back. We really, really go backwards because if we lose, it becomes the law of the land that males will compete in women's sports everywhere and that states can't prevent it. So it's incredibly momentous. I think that we will win.
Yeah.
But again, even if we do, it's not solved in 23 states. And so I think, my point that we have to continue to change the cultural conversation, that persists.
I think that, let me ask you this along those lines. So we've had, and I always point to, and I think if I'm not mistaken, it was 3 years ago this month that Jamie Reed came out with her piece. Was it 3 or 4 years, right here in St. Louis, in the Free Press about the situation at Children's Hospital in WashU. I always kind of call that a defining moment in all of this because it gained a lot of attention. So as we start 2026, I think you would agree that we've had a lot of victories here in the last couple of years in particular on this front. But these cases, to your point, these cases really are important. I think the makeup of the court certainly favors a decision in our favor, but it will be interesting to watch.
Yeah, I mean, it's really important in terms of setting precedent. That said, I still think we need federal legislation. I think we need state legislation, and I think we need to change the cultural conversation. The culture is starting to shift. It is. There have been a few, I think, great examples in the last, 6 to 8 weeks. We had the op-ed by a professional women's soccer player saying women's soccer needs to be for women only. But just remember the backlash and the pushback she got. Her entire team did a press conference calling her a bigot. So that kind of discourages other women from doing the same thing. But then we had Sabalenka, the number one tennis player in the world in the women's category, recently said to Piers Morgan that she doesn't think it's fair for males to compete in women's sports. This was in advance of her Battle of the Sexes match, which she lost, not surprisingly, to a man ranked 671st in the world. But she said it. She said, I don't think it's fair. And then Sophie Cunningham, the WNBA player, recently said...
She was a Mizzou player, by the way, University of Missouri.
Oh, she was.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. She recently said that a really, really strong 8th grade boys team would beat a WNBA team.
Yeah. I remember when she said that a few weeks ago, and those are the things that we've been saying for a long time. Well, listen, thanks for getting on here. I hope all is well.
Yeah.
Let's look at these Supreme Court cases. Happy New Year, Jen Say.
Happy New Year to you. Thank you for having me.
Take care.
Bye.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
There is an accident downtown, southbound 55 at the 44 split, and it has created a huge jam behind it. It goes back underneath the Poplar Street Bridge, back really almost to Tucker. So if you're traveling in that area, westbound 44 / southbound 55 is jammed. Now, eastbound 40 is lined up, headed for the Poplar Street Bridge, but it looks like they've cleared the accident that was there. Westbound 70, slowing at Jennings Station Road, a little bit past the airport and at 141. Also, just a little bit at Highway K. Now, if you're on westbound 40, that slow pocket's Kings Highway out through McCausland, slowing again at 270, and in pockets west of Timberlake Manor, all the way out through the 70 split. Southbound 270, we had accidents north of 44. That's a jam that goes back through Olive. At 55, also a little slow, right there at Bates. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
I actually got on the horn with Mike Reynolds from Michael's Flooring Outlet earlier this week. I have a little bit of a carpeting challenge where the puppy has decided, and he's like 9 months old now, so he's almost 10 months old. On the 19th, he'll be 10 months old, so he'll be a year old in a couple of months. He has decided to eat some holes in our carpeting downstairs. So what Mike and I kind of decided at this point is we're going to see if one of his repair guys can come over, pull some carpet out of the closet or something like that, and do a little patch and repair before I have to make bigger decisions. But one of the things that I love, and Fred would absolutely confirm this as well because he had this experience with Mike and the team from Michael's Flooring, is they're going to shoot straight with you. They're going to give you advice that fits your lifestyle and your budget. If you need to do something on a budget, you would be blown away by the quality of the products that they have and how they look in your home at a price point that is very comfortable. Now, you want to get fancy, you want to go crazy, they're going to let you do that as well. If you want to get started, do a little homework, go online to igotfloor.com. They have 3 great locations open every day except for Sunday in Old Town St. Peters and Darden Prairie and in West County on Olive, and that website, igotfloor.com, Michael's Flooring Outlet.
Hey, it's your main man, Jimmy Fallon, and I am headed your way. Saturday, January 24th at the Factory in Chesterfield. We are defunding the joke police. So grab your tickets at 971fmtalk.com/events, and I will see you in the loo.
If you owe the IRS, you have a legal issue, and you need the Lance Drury Law Firm. We'll protect your rights. Log on at lancedrurylaw.com or call us toll-free at 888-367-6512.
St. Louis, laugh it up with Jimmy Fallon live at the Factory on January 24th. From national radio to sold-out comedy clubs, Jimmy delivers fast, fearless stand-up that hits home.
The only ones raising tough kids anymore. The redneck babies are going to take on ISIS. The hipster babies are going to battle the evil forces of gluten. You know what I'm saying?
Grab your friends and get ready for a night of laughs. One show, one night only. Don't miss Jimmy Fallon, January 24th at the Factory. Get your tickets now at thefactorystl.com. That's thefactorystl.com.
Nothing makes a gathering great like Eggland's Best Eggs. They're just so delicious with better nutrition, too. For us, it's eggs any style, as long as they're the best. Eggland's Best. Better taste, better nutrition, better eggs.
Mark Reardon, Sue Thomas. This is The Mark Reardon Show.
I really want to get Chris Clem's opinion. He is a former Yuma Sector Border Patrol chief who has served as a special advisor to RFK Jr. at HHS. He is back doing stuff. I was disappointed because Chris invited me late last year to go down to the border and do a tour, and I just couldn't put it together. Unfortunately, I was very disappointed, but he's going to have some things to say about what happened in Minneapolis yesterday. Brian Ping in the next hour, too. St. Louis native. He is an anchor and reporter for KNX Radio in Los Angeles. It's been a year since the Palisades fire and all the rest of the disaster out there, so he's going to give us an update at 5:30, plus an audio cut of the day. Another reminder, we have a Reardon Roundtable tomorrow, as we always do. Jane's going to be here on the panel. Also, Greg Keller on my side. He'll bring his hair, which we always appreciate. And then, who am I missing here? Steve Butts, State Representative Steve Butts. Now, I will say this, that the roundtable will start in a most unique way tomorrow, and that's with Catherine Hanaway, the Attorney General, making an announcement that she wants to make. I don't think it's an indictment of anyone on the panel, but we'll see what happens tomorrow at 3. Here's a guy that I haven't talked to in a long time, and I used to talk to him quite a bit. Greg Damon, who is the GM at Sparks Tire and Auto in St. Charles. He's the KMWX auto guy, and I was on that station for about 16 years. Greg, how are you?
Mark, nice to talk to you.
I see your stuff on social media. I miss you. We used to talk on a regular basis, but we thought of you because there is this pending legislation on getting rid of these safety inspections in Missouri, and I know you have some strong opinions on that, don't you?
Well, absolutely, and I got to tell you, Mark, it's the middle of Missouri has been trying to get rid of the safety inspections for many, many years, but January 1st, a lot of new laws get enacted throughout the country, throughout the state. There was a big report going on that they have eliminated the safety inspection on January 1st required for all cars to renew your license plates. Well, I'm here to report that is absolutely false. It's inaccurate. Actually, from the Department of Revenue website, they say that they are issuing an advisory to correct the inaccurate information being circulated through a lot of media outlets that is most likely generated from artificial intelligence regarding changes to the vehicle registration requirements. So here at Sparks Tire and Auto, we're still doing safety inspections like we're supposed to. A lot of other mechanic shops and everything else throughout the state are still doing business as usual. This has been largely reported wrong throughout the state. And I will tell you, Mark, that if they would withdraw the safety inspection requirements for vehicles, it would be very bad for the state of Missouri and for the people that drive on the highways.
Okay, so why do you say that? Because I am not a favorite of these things, and I'm really not a favorite of the emissions test. But despite the fact that the information has been false, there was a story yesterday by Kurt Erickson in the Post that said that lawmakers are trying to pass legislation and maybe fast track getting rid of the safety requirements. But why would you need? I'm just going to ask, Greg, why would you need a safety check on a car that is less than 10 years old?
Okay, well, Mark, I'll tell you this. If you have 10, so the law states if you have 10 years old, you do not need a safety inspection, 10 years or less than 150,000 miles.
Okay, all right, well,
so
that seems...
Less than 10 years or less than 150,000 miles. But I will tell you this, that I personally think it should be back every 2 years that every car should be inspected. Because we're seeing cars that are 2 or 3 or 4 years old that may have 100,000 miles on it. And if you don't have anything done to it, or you may have issues you don't know about, it could be detrimental to you driving on the road or detrimental to somebody else that you're driving next to. If you have, an accident or something break on the car or anything else. I'll tell you this, a mutual friend of ours, Kevin Wheeler, was in today. He's got 45,000 miles on his car, and his tires are completely bald on it. So, he had no idea that they were that far down.
Right, but so that's not always going to be something that's going to be related to a safety inspection. That's just somebody that needs to kind of pay attention to their tires. Kevin would seemingly be smart enough to do that. I got new tires recently because I knew that they were kind of going bald.
Well,
but that's the type of thing you're saying is flagged on a safety inspection.
Sure, absolutely. We look at the tires, we look at the suspension, the steering systems, make sure there's no fuel leaks. We make sure the glass is right, all the lights work, the wipers work. I mean, even think about wipers. People don't think about their wipers till it's raining, and they go, oh, my gosh, my wipers are bad, and they forget about it when it stops raining. There's a lot of stuff. How many cars do you see that are driving that one of the lights is out or headlights out or, or you see that orange dot at nighttime in their dashboard, the check engine light's on.
Right.
So a lot of that stuff, even if they did, I will tell you this, though, Mark, even if they did away with the safety inspection, you will still have to have an emission inspection done on your car.
All right, hang on one second, because you're breaking up on me, and I want to hear you. I want to hear what you have to say. We'll see if the signal clears up just a little bit here, because you were sounding great, Greg, and all of a sudden you kind of started sounding phasey. Can you hear me okay? I don't think I can hear him. I think we lost him there.
Mark?
Yeah, okay. Are you there? Let's try one more time.
I don't know what happened.
Okay, all right.
Sorry about that.
Let me back up before we get to emissions, okay? So don't you think that, for the most part, the people who aren't fixing the crap on their cars, they're not getting their tags anyway and their safety inspection? And I don't know. This seems very nanny state to me. It really does.
I wish that people could come into to my work and spend a week with us and see the kind of stuff that we see on cars where things are bad or defective. Sometimes people try to do their own repairs and it's not correct. It's really kind of scary. I mean, to see some of the stuff that we have. We actually failed a car today because the brake pad was coming apart from the backing plate of the brake pad. Was actually pulled away from it, and parts of the brake pad were missing. And the customer had no idea that that was going on. And something like that, he could be in a panic braking, and all of a sudden the rest of the brake pad break off, and now his braking doesn't work as well.
Okay. Well, I will take all that under advisement. I don't like it. I hope they get rid of it. But on emissions, that really pisses me off. Why would we need to do this at this point? There's no reason, especially for newer cars. No reason at all.
Well, I think the cars that are made today in their computer systems and stuff like that are really good. That check engine light comes on if you have an emission-related thing, and it could be anything from a misfire all the way down to an evaporative system not working or something like that. The cars are really good today, but the issue is, even if they eliminated the safety inspection, like I said, you're still going to have the emission inspection. That's a federal law. It's a federal mandate, and we actually get federal dollars for that.
Well, let's hope that this administration can do something to get rid of that, because I think it's a complete waste of time. You want to do it for cars that are over 15 years old, go for it. But this isn't solving anything. It's not making the air cleaner. It's not making anyone safer. It's a waste of money. It's a waste of time. I think it's a waste of the shop's time, because you guys make, $10 off of all those? So I wish it would go away. So you're saying, though, that that's not something the state can make go away because it's federal?
That is 100% correct. And I will say, you look at a safety inspection, we get paid $12 for that. I have to pay $1.50 for that sticker, and the guy takes about an hour to do it. So, it's not a moneymaker for the shop.
That's why I thought you guys the shops wouldn't want to do that stuff. I mean, you're offering a perspective that I was rather unprepared for, honestly, because I'm not for these things. Now, I hear what you're saying. I do, and I understand that. But, if we can get to a situation where it's over 150,000 miles or something like that, I guess I would go for it. And, Greg, don't get me wrong. I get your points, and you're the expert here that's looking at these cars every day. But I think government can only do so much when it comes to keeping us safe and forcing us to do things.
Well, the things that I've seen with people is, if somebody's not going to fix their car, they're not going to fix their car unless they absolutely 100% have to. And that's the issue that I see, that instead of having a breakdown on the side of the road, instead of having a car wreck or something like that, most people may go to a quick oil change place where they don't even check the rest of the car out and see if there's anything bad. To me, it really hits home with me, because of the stuff that we see and the potential the potential things that could happen. I mean, I can't tell you how many tires I've seen that have cords showing or have big knots on them or
no, I believe that. I always point this out because I can almost guarantee when you see people spinning out, when we had that snowstorm a couple of months ago,
Sure.
they're rear-wheel drive, they have no tires. And like when I was, my mechanic that I'm seeing right now, Spieler Automotive, they're in High Ridge, Josh told me, and I unfortunately have had a lot of car issues, but he says he's really anal on tires in particular. And you can tell, I can tell, I got 4 new tires 2 months ago. There's a difference in the way that the car grips and grabs. You can absolutely feel a difference. And if you're driving and you feel your car slipping, even a little bit of rain, that's your signal. You should do something about it, I think.
Well, absolutely. But, how many times do you go around and look at the tires on your car? We'll just say with tires. But, it's the same with headlights. It's the same with everything else. But tires wear so gradually, you kind of get used to how it drives.
Yes. No, I get it.
Know what I mean?
Understand that completely. Listen, I'm out of time. Greg, Damon, great to hook up with you. I appreciate your perspective.
Thank you so much for having me on, Mark.
Yep, take care.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Well, we've got a lot of volume on southbound 270, and it's mainly between Olive and an accident just really close to Big Bend. So expect a slow go through there. We also have an accident reported on westbound 6440 past Timberlake Manor. Heavy traffic there. In fact, if you're leaving the city, 6440 lines up near Kings Highway and it goes out through McCausland. There was an accident on 44 westbound at the 55 split. That's left us with a jam in front of the Poplar Street Bridge. And if southbound 170 is slow go at 6440 as well, 55 slowing at Bates. Now, if you're headed into Illinois, we're fine on the bridges, but there is a little bit of a delay eastbound 6440 headed for the Poplar. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
It's time for a $98 furnace tune-up. Most home projects, you're like, got this. But rewiring a hot main or putting 120 amps to an outlet, you're like, nope, not this. Smart. Calling Jerry Kelly? Smarter. Getting them to perform an electrical safety check before work's needed? That's wisdom.
JerryKelly.com. Well, this is a busy time for Susan L. Ward. She's a family practice attorney here in the St. Louis area. Last May, she and her colleagues, her office, she's got a great team with a ton of experience. They moved into a brand new office in De Pere at Manchester and 270. Very modern, has all the amenities. They would love to see you if you have challenges in this particular area of your life, whether it's the end of a marriage or things that happen in the aftermath of divorce, post-divorce issues, modifications to existing orders. I've admitted this in the past. I'm not too smart sometimes, and when child support ended from my boys, because I was divorced a couple of decades ago, I thought that was just going to stop magically off my check. Nope. Judge had to get involved, and there needed to be a court order. So Susan and the team can help you with any and all of that as well, and they handle cases related to domestic violence, etc. STLFamilyLaw.com. Susan L. Ward, the focus on family, the emphasis on you. She's got an awesome team. Connect with her. Do us a big favor. They're great sponsors, great supporters here, Susan is, of 97.1 FM Talk. STLFamilyLaw.com.
The ACA Market Plan has just announced significant increases on their monthly premiums for 2026, with deductibles over $10,000. You can enroll with Greg Hammond's Freedom of Choice plans now. You don't have to wait. One of their plans lets you use any doctor, has zero outpatient deductibles, and it's 30 to 60% lower than most Obamacare plans. Other options are full coverage PPOs with national networks, copays, and 100% annual preventative care. Also, there's no income disclosure required, so no potential tax penalties. If you pay for your own health insurance, you're uninsured, you're on COBRA, or your employer coverage is just too expensive, call Greg, and they'll provide all available options. Call 314-794-7784. That's 314-794-7784. Or go to greghammonds.com. That's greghammonds.com. He can custom design a plan managed and chosen by you, not the government.
Hey, good morning. You're heading to the airport, right?
Yep, thanks for checking. I like the car. How long have you been a rideshare driver?
About 3 years now. I really enjoy it.
Isn't it hard to make money these days with the price of gas being so high?
Not for me. I use Upside, the free app that gives you cash back for every gallon of gas you buy.
Wait a minute. Are you saying you actually get real money back when you get gas with the Upside app?
Yep, I get real cash back every time I get gas.
Does that actually add up to anything?
I'll make around $200 to $300.
Wow, that's serious extra cash. I'm downloading the Upside app now.
Download the free Upside app now to earn real cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code NEXT for an extra 25 cents per gallon bonus on your first tank. You can cash out anytime right to your bank account, PayPal, or a gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code NEXT for a 25 cents a gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code NEXT.
KFTK FM Florissant from the Kaufman Townsley St. Louis's Injury Lawyers Studio. Call 314-777-7777.
That's 314-777-7777.
At the ready
I'm Lisa Lacera, Fox News. Minnesota Governor Tim Walz has authorized the National Guard to be staged and ready to support local law enforcement and maintain public safety after yesterday's shooting involving ICE agents in Minneapolis. Earlier, the governor called for protests to be peaceful.
The way that we don't win and the way that we lose, if this turns towards violence and allows them to escalate. It cannot happen.
And Walz says the state must play a role in investigating the shooting after the Justice Department moved to keep it in federal hands. The shooting killed 37-year-old Renee Good. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem says Good was using her SUV as a weapon, aiming at ICE officers, and the officer acted in self-defense. On Capitol Hill.
On this vote, the yeas are 230, the nays are 196. The bill is passed, and without objection, the motion to reconsider is laid on the table.
17 Republicans voting with Democrats to extend Obamacare subsidies for 3 years. It next goes to the Senate, and House Democratic Leader Hakeem Jeffries called out Senate Majority Leader John Thune, saying he needs to stop playing procedural games.
We know that a majority of senators are already on record supporting a straightforward extension of the Affordable Care Act tax credits.
Ahead of the vote, the nonpartisan Congressional Budget Office estimated the bill would increase the nation's deficit by about $80.6 million over the next decade. A judge has disqualified a federal prosecutor from overseeing investigations into New York Attorney General Letitia James, saying he's not lawfully serving as an acting U.S. attorney. On Wall Street, the major indexes ended the day mixed. The Dow gained 270, the Nasdaq lost 104, the S&P up a fraction. Stocks of defense contractors like Northrop Grumman and Lockheed Martin rallied after President Trump said he wants to increase defense spending. America's listening to Fox News.
It all comes down to this, folks.
Yep, the entire season is on the line. But my throat has officially thrown in the towel.
Sounds like you need Vicks VapoCool drops. They're max strength and vaporize sore throat pain.
Whoa! These VapoCool drops hit fast!
Speaking of fast, did you just see that play?
Yeah, he vaporized that ball.
That pun should have come with a penalty.
Vaporize sore throat pain with Vicks VapoCool drops. Use as directed.
The new year brings new health goals and wealth goals. Protecting your identity is an important step. Your info is in endless places that could expose you to identity theft, leading to lost funds. LifeLock monitors millions of data points per second. If your identity is stolen, our restoration specialists will fix it, guaranteed, or your money back. Resolve to make identity health and wealth part of your New Year's goals with LifeLock. Save up to 40% your first year with promo code NEWS. Visit lifelock.com. Terms apply.
Air Comfort Service, heating, cooling, and insulation. Weather.
Unsettled skies stay with us right through midnight tonight. Periods of rain, and there will be a couple of thunderstorms around. It's windy and 45. Friday, it's all gone. A mix of clouds and sunshine. Emphasis on the clouds. A windy day, 56. Friday night, clouds, maybe a couple of showers after midnight as another cold front comes in. It will be colder, 38. Saturday, partly sunny, couple of sprinkles, couple of snow flurries. This is 97.1 FM Talk. Chief Meteorologist Damon.
This hour of the Mark Reardon Show is sponsored by Gamma Tree Experts. Your trees deserve the best care. Call Gamma Tree Experts. This is the Mark Reardon Show on 97.1 FM Talk.
A little breaking news here this afternoon, although this has been kind of bubbling underneath the surface. And I'm just going to tell you right now, I'm digesting this. I don't know all the implications, but the St. Louis Cardinals and 8 other baseball teams that are televised by FanDuel Sports Midwest. Well, we have FanDuel Sports Midwest. It's not always Midwest, but the FanDuel Sports Network have terminated their contracts with FanDuel and Main Street Sports. That's the parent company. So this was reported, I think, a few weeks ago, but Main Street missed a payment to the Cardinals. They owed the Cardinals some money, and apparently they've now missed a payment to some other teams. So The Athletic, who is breaking this story and reporting on it, says the termination of the deals does not preclude those teams, Atlanta, Cincinnati, Detroit, Kansas City, Los Angeles, Miami Marlins, Brewers, Cardinals, Tampa Bay Rays, from returning or renegotiating an agreement. When Main Street was in bankruptcy from 23 to 25, deals were terminated but ultimately reworked. And what Rob Manfred has said is our focus is, particularly given the point in the calendars, to maximize the revenue that's available. They said that they're in a position to take over the broadcast of any team if needed, and the goal is to maximize revenue. So that's kind of a little tricky situation that, again, has been bubbling underneath the surface. I don't think in the end it's going to mean that we can't see St. Louis Cardinals games, but I, for one, was thrilled when they made this whole product available on Prime, because I had to subscribe to Fubo just to see the Cardinals and the Blues. So, but there have been financial problems with Main Street, so that's one of the things they're trying to figure out. Okay, hey, Chris Clem is back with us this afternoon. He was a Border Patrol agent in the Yuma sector. He's been a great guest on these immigration issues. We wanted him to weigh in on what happened in Minneapolis. First of all, Happy New Year, Chris. How are you?
Hey, Happy New Year. And, man, I'm doing great. You know why? I didn't try to impede an ICE officer from doing their job today. So I'm alive. I'm healthy. I'm doing great.
Well, let's just start with that, because we can talk about the particulars of the action of the ICE officers, but this is a woman who had just dropped off her daughter at school, 6-year-old kid, and decides that her mission is then to park sideways in the middle of a snowy street in Minneapolis and wave through cars that are not ICE agents, but when ICE agents are there, to pull in front of them and to block their vehicles. She thought that that was going to end well. Now, I'm not saying in any way, shape, or form that she deserved to die, but her actions were directly responsible for this tragedy.
100%. And I got to tell you, look, not only was I a chief of the Border Patrol down in Yuma and a deputy chief in various sectors, I was a firearms instructor, a use of force instructor. I have done local and national use of force review boards. I've seen this stuff. I was an assistant chief over training and traumatic incidents. So I have watched and looked at these type of cases for a long, long time. And, yeah, she made a decision to put herself in a situation that resulted in deadly force. It was the wrong decision, obviously. No one, and I can tell you this, anybody in my circle that knows me and people that I consider friends, especially former colleagues, none of us ever wanted to have to use deadly force or have to hurt somebody for doing our job. It was part of the job. We understood that. But the idea that there are people out there now that have been weaponized by radical leftists that are trying to disrupt immigration enforcement, and this poor woman felt like she was doing her part, and she was assaulting an agent. Any way you look at it, that she put that agent in harm's way, and he responded. And unfortunately, we have a loss of life. But emotionally, yeah, it sucks to see something like that. But the facts are, she bumped him, and he was under threat. And the courts are going to look at it from his point of view, not some YouTuber's point of view.
Don't you think that one of the key, pieces of evidence here when it comes to the justification of deadly force is the fact that the first bullet went right through the windshield in the front? So because people have made the allegation that he was shooting in the side window, which I think maybe that did happen after the second or third shot, but he clearly was facing right at the car because he fired right through the windshield.
Well, yeah. So the first video and the one that Congress and everybody in Minnesota is flouting is the one with the agent that's trying to get the door open. The shooter was actually in front of the vehicle,
right.
coming to provide backup to his partner, and that's when and that's why they were saying, "Oh, the wheels turn." Look, that gunshot wound around through the window shows exactly what that agent was doing. He was going after the threat, which was the driver of that vehicle. That's like the weapon, and that's what we're trained to do. Is we don't shoot tires. That's Hollywood. You shoot the threat, which is the person behind the wheel. She accelerated. She spun. She was going around, and his partner was engaged. This was a problem that shouldn't have happened, but it did. But looking at it from what I've seen, and I have the same evidence you do. What I've seen and what's been reported, and it's horrible. It's tragic. But it's the fact of life when you get involved and you assault a law enforcement officer. These are kind of things that happen.
So I've had conflicting information on this today, and I'm just curious about if there's a policy. Does ICE typically, as standard practice, wear body cameras or not?
Well, it depends on the situation. You've got the body camera policy that I was familiar with and I helped write were Customs and Border Protection, which covered Border Patrol agents and the port officers and the air and marine officers. ICE does have certain tactical operations where they will wear that, but I am unclear if they are mandated by their operations policy, because most of the ICE officers we're seeing out there are enforcement removal operations guys. They work in the detention centers and then go out and do fugitive ops, and then the special agents, which aren't typically going to wear body cams. So I just don't have the answer to that. But all those Border Patrol agents that are there, they have their body cameras on, and they should be activated during that. And there'll probably be plenty of video there because there was, I think, Border Patrol agents on scene as well.
So when I was, I've been dabbling with CNN lately just to see what they're doing and covering this story. I'm driving home last night. I'm listening to the woman who actually shot the video that's been most circulated, right? And you can hear her cussing, "You shot my neighbor," what the F, all that stuff.
Yeah.
She was making a claim, which I haven't seen anyone else make, that the agents that were on site were not professional, were sloppy, didn't know what they were doing, didn't know procedure. This guy who did the shooting, he'd been an ICE agent for 10 years. Not only that, not that this should matter in this case, but he and I saw the video today, he was dragged 300 feet by another migrant who was illegal in a stop 6 months ago and had to get 33 stitches.
Yeah, so, her opinion on their professionalism is her opinion. But you know what does matter in this case, and it is his experience. And his experience is that when you approach a vehicle in a hostile situation like they were in, and it accelerates, he's been dragged 300 feet. So that is going to weigh heavily on when you look at the totality of the circumstances, whether it's the precedents of Graham versus Connor or Tennessee versus Garner or the latest Felix versus Barnes. It's totality of the circumstance from the officer's perception. So that does matter. Their professionalism, again, you can only push somebody so far. If they've been hollering at them for an hour or however long they've been out there and they've been dealing with this, yeah, you know what? Occasionally there's going to be a curse word that comes out of an agent's mouth when they're trying to get things going. It just happens. It's life. We're grown-ups. But, that's just her opinion. And again, none of us wanted this to happen. But you didn't have to be Nostradamus to figure out that this was going to happen at some point, because of all the problems we've talked about for the last year.
But it's amazing the different interpretations. I was mentioning CNN, so I'm driving in today, and J.D. Vance had his news conference. I don't know, did you see any of that, Chris? It was really good.
I read some of it.
Yeah.
I was busy on some other things, but I saw some of his comments online.
It was Carolyn was doing a briefing, and then she invited the vice president up, and he made a strong case. I do think, here's what I've said on the show today and yesterday, I think the administration, DHS, and maybe even the president, they've exaggerated a couple of the points. I don't personally believe that the woman was trying to run the officer over. That's irrelevant when it comes to deadly force, because she was maybe trying to get away, but she certainly could have run him over. But, there's a lot of stuff here, and let me play this because I'm sure you've heard it. The criticism on CNN is, well, J.D. Vance and Chris, everyone's weighing in on this like we know all the evidence. In the meantime, the other side's doing the same damn thing. They're calling it murder.
This officer not only needs to be fired and suspended, he needs to be charged with murder.
What we saw today was a criminal murder a woman and shoot her in the head.
We have seen them terrorize so many of citizens in the 5th District and across Minnesota, and that has tragically led to this murder that we all watched on TV.
Chris, in our local paper, I don't get the home delivery, the actual paper, but the headline was Federal Officer Kills Motorist. I'm just a motorist, like the Maryland father situation. But how do you respond to the Democrats calling this murder?
Well, again, it's a shame because that's part of the narrative about how bad ICE is and this administration's law enforcement wings are. I find it very irresponsible and downright, hurtful to any chance of closing any division in this country. Because number one, they say that this guy's a murderer. He should be in jail. He should be behind bars. Yet they want full transparency and accountability and investigation. Well, they've come to a foregone conclusion. I also find it interesting that, in one sentence, Governor Walz says, get the feds out of here. We don't need you. But then now is begging to be part of the investigation.
I know.
You can't have your cake and eat it too, Governor Walz.
He wants it both
created
ways.
Some of this monster. Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Chris, awesome to have you on. Happy New Year. I want to also personally thank you so much. I know you invited me to take that trip to the border a couple of months ago. I just couldn't get it together quick enough, but I really appreciate it. Maybe later this year we can, hook up again. But thanks for the offer. I really do appreciate it.
You got it. Thanks for having me on, and look forward to the next time.
All right, take care. Thank you. That's Chris Clem, and I want to play a little bit of this J.D. Vance audio. I played it earlier in the show. He goes up there after Carolyn starts the briefing, immediately rips on CNN.
Somebody sent me a photo of a CNN headline about what happened in Minneapolis. And this is the headline. I'm just going to read it. Outrage after ICE officer kills U.S. citizen in Minneapolis. Well, that's one way to put it, and that is the way that many people in the corporate media have put this attack over the last 24 hours. And I say attack very, very intentionally, because this was an attack on federal law enforcement. This was an attack on law and order. This was an attack on the American people. The way that the media, by and large, has reported this story has been an absolute disgrace, and it puts our law enforcement officers at risk every single day.
Now, he pointed out what CNN left out. Same thing with the Post-Dispatch.
What that headline leaves out is the fact that that very ICE officer nearly had his life ended, dragged by a car 6 months ago, 33 stitches in his leg. So you think maybe he's a little bit sensitive about somebody ramming him with an automobile? What that headline leaves out is that that woman was there to interfere with a legitimate law enforcement operation in the United States of America. What that headline leaves out is that that woman is part of a broader left-wing network to attack, to dox, to assault, and to make it impossible for our ICE officers to do their job. If the media wants to tell the truth, they ought to tell the truth that a group of left-wing radicals have been working tirelessly, sometimes using domestic terror techniques to try to make it impossible for the President of the United States to do what the American people elected him to do, which is enforce our immigration laws.
I've been many times on the record, I've said I'm not a fan, Chris and I have talked about this before, of the ICE agents always being masked up. But on the other hand, you know what happened today earlier, there was somebody that went out there, one of these websites, that said that they identified the officer, and then a picture gets out there, and I don't know if that particular person was harassed, but it wasn't the guy. It wasn't an accurate picture of the officer that was involved. But if they find out who this is, I guarantee you, I mean, the guy's going to basically have to go into witness protection. So more ripping of the media here.
The president stands with ICE. I stand with ICE. We stand with all of our law enforcement officers. And part of that is recognizing that you people in the media, not everybody in this room, but many people in this room have been lying about this attack. She was trying to ram this guy with her car. He shot back. He defended himself. He's already been seriously wounded in law enforcement operations before, and everybody who's been repeating the lie that this is some innocent woman who was out for a drive in Minneapolis when a law enforcement officer shot at her, you should be ashamed of yourselves. Every single one of you.
Now, you know, the press had their say also. They asked some questions. One of them, did she deserve to die?
Everything that you say is true. How does being part of that network justify being shot?
Let me set this up just a little bit, because what they're saying is that she's part of sort of an organized network, and I think there's an indication of that goes out and protests ICE. And look, you know, the one thing, I just remembered this, Sue. I heard this from the woman who shot the video last night, and I didn't remember it until just now. She talked about how the first thing she heard yesterday were whistles. You know what the whistles are?
No.
That's the neighbors. They use whistles to indicate that ICE is in the neighborhood. So they have this whole deal where they,
my gosh.
Isn't that kind of interesting?
Yes, it is.
So that's only been, I've never even heard that reported by any outlet, but I heard the woman who did the interview last night with Aaron Burnett say that, because Aaron was saying, well, tell us the story from the beginning. Well, I heard the whistles, and the whistles indicate that ICE is in the neighborhood. Well, it has to be, unless I'm missing something, and that ICE blows whistles when they're in the neighborhood. That sounds like they have a little system, right?
Yeah.
A little alert system. So then what I'd like to see is a little bit more video of what happened immediately before the SUV pulls in front of her, because you can see her, and this is misrepresented in the New York Times. The New York Times tries to make it seem like she was waving the ICE vehicle through. Oh, no. If you watch the video before that, and there are a few seconds that I've seen, she's waving through another vehicle to go past her. Then she moves forward to specifically block the ICE vehicle. She is completely sideways in the street. She's not trying to head in the right or the left. She's actually sideways. And then when the officer comes around, that's when she starts turning the vehicle. She puts it in reverse, then she puts it in drive, and that's what he fires. So, I mean, some of this, and I've said this in fairness, I think that some of this has been overstated a little bit on the part of the administration. Everyone needs to dial down some of this stuff, but good Lord, let's get the basic facts right.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
On the roads, we've got an issue downtown. If you are a westbound 44 driver, there's an accident right at the 55 split, and it's left us with a parking lot under the Poplar Street Bridge back to about the Stan Musial Veterans Memorial Bridge. Now, westbound 64 is lined up Kings Highway in pockets out through the inner belt, again at 270, and a slow pocket or two headed out towards 70. Now, 70 is mainly moderate volume, Jennings Station Road, 141, but it's slow past Wentzville. Southbound 170 is pretty slow, headed for 64. Southbound 141 is slow, headed for 64 as well. And 270 is mostly slow pockets from Olive. It's pretty heavy down through Manchester and then slow pockets through Gravois. 55 slowing around Bates. But if you're headed into Illinois, we look okay on the bridges downtown. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Well, the past 2 evenings, we've had what I would call amazing conversations with George Rosenthal from ThrottleNet, who's out still in Vegas at the Consumer Electronics Show. But let me tell you a little bit about what George and they do at ThrottleNet for those of you here in St. Louis who are business owners. They do everything IT, and most businesses, and George will tell you this, they don't know where they stand. Are you secure, or are you one mistake from a breach? Big, giant corporations make mistakes where they're one step away from a breach. Don't put yourself in that situation, because ThrottleNet will tell you that cyber threats are not just a big company problem. Small and mid-sized St. Louis businesses are being targeted every day. No ThrottleNet client has ever paid a ransom because their cybersecurity works. They're the only IT company here that backs their cybersecurity with a $500,000 cyber protection program. And they don't lock you into contracts either. So if you're a business that rely on technology, this is a great step. ThrottleNet is your IT everything. They don't just fix problems. They provide full IT strategies, security and IT support, so you can focus on what you do best. Visit throttlenet.com/971. That'll get your free baseline IT security audit started again. throttlenet.com/971. throttlenet.com.
Paid for by Christian Care Ministry.
So right now may be the perfect time for you to rethink how you pay for health care. And here's why. This time of year is decision time for a lot of people. But it's also when you can join MediShare and save even more than usual. For many families, joining MediShare means saving about $500 a month, which is a game changer for a lot of people. More than 1 million people are now part of healthcare sharing because it just makes so much sense, especially right now. And MediShare is the gold standard. Members like it a lot. We know this from member surveys. MediShare has been around for over 30 years. It is a proven thing. And if you join before January 15th and you mention the promo code SHARE, they'll waive your application fee, so you save $100 right off the bat. I'll give you the number here in a second, but just call. You'll get a price within 2 minutes. And again, the deadline is January 15th. So call now. You'll save even more. Here's the number, 855-51-BIBLE. That's 855-51-BIBLE. 855-51-BIBLE.
If you suffer from burning, tingling, or numb feet, pay special attention as we discuss neuropathy with Dr. Patton, D.C. Doctor, what is neuropathy?
Peripheral neuropathy is nerve damage to the feet and legs.
What are the symptoms?
The symptoms are numbness, burning, tingling, pain, and loss of balance.
Is neuropathy treatable?
It's absolutely treatable, and we have amazing results.
If you have burning, tingling, numbness, coldness in your feet or hands, or balance issues, call us at Comprehensive Integrated Health today for a nerve damage screening. The screening will tell if you're at risk for serious complications and if you're a candidate for our cutting-edge treatment program. Don't wait until your symptoms are so severe nothing can be done. End-stage neuropathy leaves people confined to walkers, wheelchairs, and even amputations. The first 10 callers will receive a free nerve damage screening. Call 636-538-5188. That's 636-538-5188 for your free nerve damage screening. 636-538-5188.
This is the Mark Reardon Show on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
All right, Reardon Roundtable tomorrow, 3 o'clock. Special announcement at the beginning of the roundtable that might even be made by the Attorney General of Missouri, Catherine Hanaway, so stay tuned for that. We'll have Paul Hall on entertainment. The Golden Globes are this weekend. The Critics' Choice Awards were last weekend. He'll have some entertainment recommendations. We might talk about this tomorrow, but I wanted to bring it up because last night I kind of got sucked into it, and it's not that long, and I think I'll probably finish it tonight. But you guys probably remember, and the audience might remember if you're a certain age, Susan Smith, who murdered her 2 kids, drove them into a pond, as I remember it. And I've said this before, and I want people to understand the nuance here, is that when I was reporting on that story when it happened 31 years ago, I had a mindset about postpartum depression overall, like, well, that's a bunch of hooey. I can't understand this at all, right? Well, it's real. And I'm not letting Susan Smith off the hook for murdering her 2 kids, but there was another case that you might remember, and that's the case of Andrea Yates. And this one is even more horrific because she drowned her 5 kids in the family's bathtub. And there is now a 3-part investigation on HBO Max that started, I think it just started on Tuesday. And it's I've got like a half an hour left of this. But here is something that's fascinating. So Rusty Yates, the former husband, is prominently featured here. Now, I don't know if I remember any of this from the beginning, but what happened is Rusty Yates, and they feature another guy in here also that had the same experience, totally different circumstance. On a college campus in the 80s, this was probably about the same time a lot of us were going to college, they run across this guy named Michael Warnicki on a college campus. And it's an interesting situation. The guy's a big athlete in Michigan. He goes to Central Michigan. They think he might be able to go to the NFL because he's that good, but he gets injured. So he starts doing this evangelism stuff, right? And he draws people into what I've decided based on this documentary. Now, again, documentaries can sway things, is a cult. But it's not a cult in the traditional way that we think of a cult. In other words, there's not a bunch of people singing Kumbaya and drinking Kool-Aid and all this other stuff. They're not in a particular compound like Waco or something like that. But what Michael Warnicki does over the course of more than 10 years and maybe up to 15 years is he writes letters. Remember when we used to write letters?
Oh, yeah.
So he would write letters and send cassette tapes that were talking about how evil people were and the devil and Satan and how you have to come to terms with Jesus. And it was intense. And he was one of those guys, and Fred Phelps comes to mind, that evil SOB, who used to go out and say God hates faggots, and he would, always protest at funerals, which was horrific. I've said this before. There's 2 people in my life I've looked into their eyes and have seen pure evil. One was Jeffrey Tokar, the guy that killed a guy named Johnny Miller in Mexico, Missouri, in front of his 2 kids with a shotgun. Horrible. And I went to that trial, and Jeffrey Tokar, piece of human degree, he was removed from the planet thanks to a needle in the 1990s. But the other guy was Fred Phelps. I mean, pure evil. But this Michael Warnicki guy was like that, and he would be on college campuses or elsewhere with his megaphone, right, and his sign, and he would have his kids out there. Or not his kids, but some of his followers' kids shouting, "You're going to hell. Jesus doesn't love," all this stuff. So over the course of time, Andrea Yates, who's pretty normal, good mother, as portrayed in this film by many people who knew her, right? She had postpartum issues 2 years before this happened. They got her help. They got her out of it. Now, Rusty tells the story and says, the doctors told us not to have another baby, all right? They had 4 sons. He decided they rolled the dice because they were worried about the postpartum. They said, look, if you have another child, there's a 50-50 shot she lands in the same spot. Well, they want to have as many kids as they can, so they have another girl named Mary. And in the aftermath, Andrea Yates slips into this psychosis. I mean, it's not depression, it's psychosis. And I'm not done with the film yet, but there is no doubt in my mind that this Michael Warnicki guy was a cult leader who, and you get other evidence in this because it's not just Andrea Yates. What happens is you find out, or people find out after this gets news exposure, that they're not the only ones, that they've been corresponding with Michael Warnicki. There's a guy that's featured in the documentary who's one of the key storytellers, and it's interesting because at first you hear him sharing his stories, and he's complimentary. He's like, this guy, I was, just absolutely taken by his story. I felt that I was failing myself. I bought in. I wrote him a letter. He goes, it was the worst decision I ever made in my life. And then the story kind of unfolds from there. So, I mean, I'm not through with the documentary. I don't even know if Andrea Yates is still alive. I know her husband decided to participate, or now it's the ex-husband. And one of the things that's awkward, and he admits it, that people don't like this, but he says he still loves her. And he is very empathetic to a woman who killed 5 children. That's awkward. And it's weird. And I think most people would say, how in the world can you do that? Because that's a normal reaction. But if you see this movie and you see the level of manipulation that this guy was putting on her, and if you combine it with the postpartum, she was brainwashed.
Yeah.
And they present cases of a lot of other people who were brainwashed by this guy, just
Jeez.
via letters and cassette tapes. It shows you. Now, look, I offer this as an example because I think this is put in modern times a little bit. This is how these people become so radicalized so quickly.
I see what
They
you
get
mean.
drawn in, they get sucked in, they like the message at first, and then it becomes very dangerous. Anyway, that is on HBO Max if you want to watch it. It's pretty compelling
What's it
for
called?
sure. Let me pull up the exact title because it's got a longer title. I knew you were going to ask me that, Fred.
sorry.
I already closed my iPad.
Well,
so
it's a
I'm gonna
good
try to answer
question,
it.
though, Fred.
Andrea,
No,
you
it's
know.
a very good question.
Yeah.
It is called The Cult Behind the Killer, the Andrea Yates Story. 3 parts on HBO Max. It's not the best documentary you're ever going to see, but it's pretty compelling, and I'm going to finish it tonight.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Well, there was an accident on 44 at 55, westbound 44 at 55, and it's left us with a huge jam downtown. It goes back through the 70 area if you were going to take that into Illinois on the Stan Musial Bridge. Things look fine on the Poplar. Westbound traffic on 70, though. We've got an accident reported past Adelaide, so that's a slow go. And then maybe some moderate volume you'll hit here and there before heading out to Wentzville. 6440 is I was going to say jammed. It's pretty slow from Kings Highway out through McCausland. Eastbound is slowing 170 through Big Bend. Southbound 270, slow pockets south of Olive, down through Gravois. And 64 out west, that's a bit of a slow go as well. So if you're traveling out there, just know that you're going to encounter some around Chesterfield Parkway. Then you get a break, and then it slows at Highway, and it's that sort of thing. Southbound 270, also a little bit slow at 55. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic. This report brought to you by Point with an E Pest Control. 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Just a quick side note. The reason that she killed the children, by the way, was because she was convinced by Michael Warnke that if she didn't, the kids would all go to hell be in hell. So that was why she did it.
Annie here, and I can proudly say no more spiders in my home. I use Point Pest Control 4 times a year, and I haven't seen any, not a single one, since they've been in my home. Mention Annie and get 10% on top of any other special. Point Pest Control, 636-798-0023.
I got a chance to know a guy named Matt Lawrence last year at Game Day Men's Health. He's got an awesome facility out in Chesterfield at 6440 and Olive and Clarkson. There is another location in O'Fallon, Missouri, but I like Matt because I got to know the team out there. It's a world-class operation, and if you're looking for something health-related that is along the lines, maybe if it's medical weight loss, they have a free testosterone and PSA test waiting for you in an hour-long visit that will give you a consultation and a game plan. I want to talk a little bit about medical weight loss because they can also offer that to men and women. And if you're looking for a very safe place to explore semaglutide and some of these other things with the expert guidance of board-certified medical professionals, Game Day is the place. They discount pricing and they priority schedule for all first responders, active duty, and veterans. Peptides are really blowing up right now. You can get a lot of misinformation online. They're the experts at Game Day Men's Health. So check out Matt's location, make an appointment. They really are proud of that timetable. So they're going to get you in for an hour. After about 20 minutes, they'll have the test results, and then they come up with a specific plan for you. If it's testosterone, you can take the medicine at home. You can go back to the location. They work with you, and it's a world-class operation. GameDayMen'sHealth.com.
Hi, I'm Bob Kershaw with Retirement Advisory Group.
Hi, I'm Tammy Kershaw. When we meet our clients for the first time, they have built up a lifetime of savings. Their question is, what can we do with this money so we can live comfortably the rest of our lives? First, we develop a strategy to protect your nest egg from any market losses. Then we build your own personalized structured income plan that will generate you an income the rest of your life. We put you in control of your money.
You've earned it, and it's our job to make sure you enjoy it. Let our team show you how you can have the retirement of your dreams. Call us now at 314-993-9494 for a no-cost, no-obligation retirement review. You will also get a copy of our latest edition book, Your Key to a Worry-Free Retirement. We've been helping retirees and pre-retirees retire with confidence for 40 years. Call us now at 314-993-9494 or go online at retirementkey.com. That's retirementkey.com.
It's time for a $98 furnace tune-up.
5:33. This portion of the show is sponsored by Jerry Kelly Heating, Air Conditioning, Electrical, and Plumbing.
Where common sense rules the mic. 97.1 FM Talk. St. Louis conservative.
Steve's Pet Store, it's gone. Foxes, gone. El Patron, gone. Everything in this neighborhood. Altadena is not existing right now.
I know more people in the Palisades, I've lived here my whole life, that have lost their homes than that still have their homes.
Most of the other areas you drive through, it's kind of a shock if you do see a structure intact.
I mean, this was horrific, and they're still trying to rebuild. Here's what the governor of California and Mayor Bass have to say 1 year later.
Costliest wildfire event in American history. Where are we at in the recovery effort?
We've made tremendous progress, the fastest debris removal in American history, at least modern American history, in 6 months.
People are still out of their homes. It doesn't make anybody feel wonderful for me to sit here and tell you that this is one of the fastest recovery and rebuilding efforts that the state of California has ever seen. And I'm proud of that.
Brian Ping is with us. He's a St. Louis native and an anchor and reporter for KNX Radio in Los Angeles, and he was our chief correspondent a year ago. I can't believe it's been a year already, but you were so awesome describing all this. I was, as you might remember, just completely captivated by what was going on because the visuals were so stunning. But Brian, Happy New Year. How are you?
Yeah, Happy New Year to you, Mark. I'm doing well, thank you. And yeah, hard to believe a whole year has passed since that horrific time.
Is what Gavin Newsom said there true, that it was, basically the biggest debris removal process in American history? Is there a fair amount of truth to that or not?
Yeah, there's not much evidence to refute that, but I mean that only tells part of the story here, because you get rid of the toxic ash, you get rid of the debris. Okay, but then there's the entire process of rebuilding all those gaps, and all those gaps are still standing, and there's a permitting issue here. And we lost about 13,000 homes total from these fires, and they've only issued permits to rebuild for about 1/5 of those properties. So the process of doing that, you can say what you will about the cleanup, but getting back to any sense of normalcy is very slow going. This could be a scar that lasts for years and years.
So I saw a story in the LA Times this week that said that there are a lot of outside investors that are moving in and dominating the market, trying to buy some of this property and maybe, some of the existing buildings. Do you know anything about that?
Yeah, I did a report on this yesterday, actually, talking about these are mostly mid-sized investors, speculative LLCs that are coming up and scooping up some of these properties. And I understand as many as 40 to 45% of these distressed properties that are being sold are going to these types of investors. We're not talking about the likes of BlackRock, the big Wall Street firms that the president is targeting, but it's more of and we're not talking about mom and pops either that are want an investment property. It's kind of somewhere in the middle. So those are the institutions that are coming and buying these homes, because for a lot of these folks, they just want to be done with it. They're going through so much stress right now. They don't really have the know-how to navigate, in some cases, this sort of market, especially under these extreme circumstances. So they just want to be done. In many cases, they're being lowballed, and they just feel they have no choice but to take that offer.
Unbelievable. The other narrative that I've seen sort of emerge in the past week, just curious about your opinion on this, is, I think a lot of the focus was on the Palisades, and maybe that's a better-known area, but my understanding is that the folks in Altadena have had really challenges, and they kind of feel like they're forgotten. Yeah,
it's really sad, because in the Palisades, a lot, not everybody, but a lot of people, they have the means to fight City Hall, fight the insurance companies, because in many cases the payouts aren't matching what it costs to build a home nowadays. But Altadena, you just don't have that. You don't have the wealth that you do in the Palisades, and so in a way, it's kind of a gentrification by fire, in a way, because you never know. We could see whole-scale permanent change to who lives there. A sad story there for sure. It's just a lot more difficult when you're up against those odds. And for a lot of these folks who have been in those homes for decades, sadly, they won't be coming back.
So the LA Times reported on this last week, Brian Ping. Brian Ping's with us, St. Louis native, KNX Radio in Los Angeles. They found some text messages that indicated that firefighters who put out what is called the Lockman fire were ordered to leave before the fire was completely out. They say they knew it was a bad idea. They knew the Palisades fire which sprung back a week later, was a rekindle. So they basically say in this story that firefighters mopping up a small brush fire that authorities say reignited as the Palisades fire 5 days later were ordered to leave the original burn scene, even though they complained the ground was still smoldering and rocks remained hot to the touch, according to firefighter text messages reviewed by the Times. To their surprise, the battalion chief ordered them to roll up their hoses and pull out of the area on January 2nd, the day after the 8-acre blaze was declared contained, rather than stay and make sure there were no hidden embers that could spark a new fire. That is rather stunning, isn't it?
Yeah, this is a big controversy. There was a rally among angry residents in the Palisades yesterday about this, including Spencer Pratt, the reality star who announced he's running for mayor. He's been kind of front and center as far as the public base rallying against this, and something that demands an investigation, a further look at, and we've had the after-action report by the fire department, but heavily edited. A lot of stuff may have been omitted, left out of that, as far as people seeking answers as to why they decided to just let that go. And it's a real mystery, and it's a big point of contention right now.
So, I for nights and nights would watch some of the Fox coverage. They have their Fox news channel outside of the main Fox that picked up some of the California, anchors and some of the reporting. And I was really, really captivated by this. But it was such a dry season, and it was just a powder keg because of that. But you guys have had, exactly the opposite the last 2 months. Nonstop. When I saw them cleaning off the rain from the Rose Bowl last week, I'd never seen that much rain in Pasadena or Los Angeles in my life.
At this time of the fire season, well, I should say the rain year. The rain year begins October 1st, like the fiscal year for rain. It runs from October 1st to September 30th. Since October 1st last year when the fires hit, we had received 1/1600ths of an inch of rain, less than 2/10 of an inch. That's it in Los Angeles. So conditions are ripe. You have extremely dry ground where we hadn't gotten any measurable rainfall since the previous May, combined with these winds that got hellishly strong at the worst point. Reports that they got up to about 100 miles an hour. So if you take something like, say, the Lachlan fire or live lines that might have been down, recipe for disaster. Of course, as you mentioned, this year, completely different story. We've gotten, I believe, one of the rainiest starts to a rain year that we've ever had. It's just a night and day difference. It really is something.
Yeah, it's crazy, but that's what happens in the Los Angeles area. Are you geared up for 2 playoff teams playing there at SoFi in the next few weeks with the Chargers and the Rams? Although they don't all play at home, obviously, but you got both teams in the playoffs, Brian Ping.
Yeah, it seems like, right now it seems like we got to see how things go with the Chargers because that's a beat-up team. And Justin Herbert, one of the best quarterbacks in the league, has no protection to speak of. And that's a team that looks to be trending down. They might be a bit exhausted. Maybe they turn it on against the Patriots team that's a bit untested. Drake May is great, but we'll have to see how he, handles the pressure of the playoffs. And, the Rams are on a roll right now. And, if they get set for their first playoff game against Carolina, that's a very winnable game. That's a team that could go on a run.
I like the matchups. I'm not very happy that, the Chiefs aren't in. I'm a big Packers fan. I'm a little worried about the Bears. I can't even believe I'm saying that. But I like the matchups for this weekend. I like the fact that we have football on tonight as well, Brian Ping. I hope all is well. Did you make it home for the holidays? I think you did, right?
I did a brief trip. In between my work days, I got to spend several days with the family. It was really nice.
Well, I was going to try to reach out.
I like the warm weather that we had there for a minute.
Oh, yeah.
We actually went to the zoo that one day, being all the kids. That Sunday where it dropped down to 25 that night. So we got it while we could.
Yeah, but since then, we've had so many days. Like the last couple of days, today was a little gloomy and rainy, but we had maybe upper 60s. Tuesday was like upper 60s, wasn't it, Sue? Yeah, it was really nice.
Midwestern winter, man. What can I say?
Yeah, I love climate change. That's what I'll say. Brian Ping, awesome. Happy New Year. Thank you, sir.
Happy New Year,
we'll
Mark.
see you.
Thank you.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
We do have some accidents out there. There's one westbound 6440 at Chesterfield Parkway. 2 right lanes are blocked and traffic, of course, stacked up behind it. Well, there was also an accident westbound 70 past Adelaide. Now that is blocking the right lanes, only the left lane getting by. Huge jam there. Also, the accident southbound 55 at 44 is in the left lane. And I hope I told Fred about that, because if he's headed that way. But anyway, there is a jam behind that one as well. Watch out for an accident northbound 270. This one is approaching 6440. They've got the 2 left lanes blocked. Now, southbound 270, slow pockets south of Olive, down through Doherty Ferry, and 44 is a little bit slow at 270. 141 jams as you head on down toward 44. And some moderate volume westbound on the Poplar Street Bridge, but eastbound is fine. I'm Sue Thomas. That's traffic. 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
2026 is an election year, and 97.1 FM Talk will be your home for every twist and turn in the 2026 midterms. 97.1 FM Talk. Keep it here for radio coverage that's 25 years strong.
Every 15 seconds, someone is diagnosed with cancer. If it's happened to you or someone you love, the American Cancer Society can help at every step of the journey. Our programs and services include rides to care, a place to stay closer to treatment, or access to information and day-to-day guidance, all for free. To see how we can help you, visit cancer.org today.
Rascal Flatts, Life is a Highway Tour 2026. Saturday, January 17th, Enterprise Center.
I like the sound of that.
Country music's greatest vocal group, Rascal Flatts.
I like the sound of
Back on the road. With special guests Chris Lane and Lauren Elena. On sale now, online at livenation.com. Rascal Flatts Live.
What if every time you spent money, you saved money too? With Achieve It Checking from Together Credit Union, you can do just that. Every debit card purchase is rounded up to the nearest dollar, and the spare change goes right into your savings. And here's the best part. Together Credit Union boosts your progress by matching qualifying savings up to $8 a month. It's a free checking account that helps you achieve more automatically. Learn more, or better yet, enroll today at togethercu.org. Together Credit Union. Federally insured by NCUA.
Hi, I'm Joe Cordell of Cordell & Cordell, America's largest family law firm. During this time of year, difficult relationships sometimes become impossible. If you or someone you care about is facing a family law issue, let us set up a 1-hour Cordell Consult. The Cordell Consult is a meeting with a local attorney who will give you clear guidance about your options, whether it's a separation, a postnuptial agreement, divorce, or custody. CordellCordell.com.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements. 600 Kelwood, St. Louis.
Nothing makes a gathering great like Eggland's best eggs. They're just so delicious with better nutrition, too. For us, it's eggs any style, as long as they're the best. Eggland's best. Better taste, better nutrition, better eggs.
You're listening to The Mark Reardon Show, 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Oh, I got a quick text from Brian Ping. He forgot to say something very important, Sue, and I think you'll appreciate this. We have to share this here this afternoon. A happy birthday to his niece, Lola Jean Ping, in Kirkwood.
Aww.
Daughter of Russell Ping of Russell's Cafe, 10 years old.
Yay!
Today. Happy birthday.
That's so nice.
I have a 10-year-old as well who's about to be 11. We have an audio cut of the day coming up here. I do want to mention we have a Reardon Roundtable tomorrow. We have an announcement to make at the beginning of the Roundtable, and that announcement is actually going to be made by Attorney General Catherine Hanaway. We are unclear whether or not it involves any active indictments or grand jury subpoenas for the panel or for the host or for Fred. I mean, people trust Fred, but you just never know with a guy like that, right?
How about old Fred Bottenheimer over there, ladies and gentlemen?
Anyway, there is something significant that we're going to share at 3 tomorrow, and you can tune in. Jane's going to be on the panel, Greg Keller, and also State Rep Steve Butts. So there's information that continues to kind of come out here about Renee Nicole Good. That is the mom who was killed by the ICE agent after veering her car toward him. Now, in the New York Post today, they're describing her this afternoon as an anti-ICE warrior and part of a group of activists who work to document and resist the federal immigration crackdown in Minnesota. So Good, who moved to Minnesota last year, linked up with the anti-ICE activists. Remember I mentioned how she's got a 6-year-old kid? Yeah. It's a son, not a daughter. I made a mistake on that. But listen to this. She linked up with the anti-ICE activists through her 6-year-old son's woke charter school, which boasts that it puts, quote, social justice first and prioritizes rather, quote, involving kids in political and social activism. Well, there you go. So a mother named Lisa who goes to the same school, her daughter does, say she was a warrior. She died doing what was right. And I even mentioned when I heard the interview on CNN last night with the woman who filmed all this, the video that's most circulated where you can hear her screaming, "What the F, what the F." She even said that the way that she was alerted to the fact that ICE was in the neighborhood is because whistles went off. I listened to that last time. I'm like, what? So they have this little signal situation where if ICE is nearby, they start blowing whistles, and that's to alert everyone. And that's how the mother, the innocent mother, pulls up and tries to block ICE, because that's what they do. So she did have an ex-husband, I believe, but she also has a wife. She had a wife, Rebecca. They were raising the boy together in what the Post says was a mostly working-class, activist-heavy neighborhood of South Minneapolis. One thing I didn't know, and it was made clear yesterday, I can't remember which guest pointed this out, Sue, but this is literally like 2 blocks away from all the George Floyd stuff, right?
Oh, wow.
So if you look at this street in particular, you've got all these homes with windows decked out with Alphabet Mafia flags or signs depicting George Floyd, right? So this school is called the Southside Family Charter School. It's a K-5 academy, opened in 1972. And since its inception, they have been unabashedly dedicated to social justice education, according to the co-founders. So it's through the involvement with the 6-year-old kid that she becomes an ICE Watch individual, disrupting ICE raids in Minneapolis. And here's a gym teacher from the school that resigned last month. Says, from my understanding, she was involved in social justice. We're kind of a tight-knit community. A lot of the parents are activists. He said that current event topics like the killing of George Floyd were regular parts of the curriculum at the school. Last month, students took a field trip where they learned about Aboriginal issues, a reference to the indigenous people of faraway Australia. So, more and more coming out about her. I don't know what that's going to mean in the end, but the whole thing is just a complete and utter disaster right now.
Yeah, that's pretty well put.
And did you know this? Here's something else that's just ridiculous. Do you know how many kids in Minneapolis and the Minneapolis public schools went to school today and will go to school tomorrow?
None?
0.
Oh, come on.
They called school off, even though this is one neighborhood in Minneapolis.
What?
These kids are coming off 2 weeks of school. No school, right?
Yeah.
They're coming off a pandemic where learning loss is significant. And they decide up in Minneapolis, let's give them a couple more days off because
why? I mean, what is
worried
the
that people are
official
going to
line?
light fires in who knows? I don't know. I have no idea because I don't know, Sue. I
don't even know.
It's ridiculous. It is ridiculous. So they won't give you off school up there because they're used to handling the snow. But an activist blocks a federal law enforcement officer and gets shot, and that gets you off school. Wow. I can't. That's been underreported today. I will tell you that.
Stand by. Playback ready.
Now, the audio cut of the day.
Well, let me kind of do a little bit of a round robin here on some of this and the shooting in Minneapolis, kind of wrap it up. Here's Paul Morrow, who was all over this.
They've been doing this operation all day. They've been repeatedly harassed and impeded, all of which is a federal crime. Apparently, reportedly, this victim here was very much part of that, if not a leader in it. You see the video, a couple things are undeniable. Number one, they're trying to leave the scene. They want ICE out. Well, here's ICE trying to leave the scene, and you're impeding them. So you have near riot conditions, and you're being boxed in. That's a very, very sort of nerve-wracking circumstance. Anybody who's ever been in the middle of that. They get out of the car. They approach her. Understand what they say to her. Get out of the car. She's under arrest. They're about to arrest her. That's why the officer who shoots has his gun out, all right? The people say, why does he have his gun out? Because they were about to take her into custody, and the whole day had gone violently.
So we heard a little bit more from Tim Walz today. You know, Kristi Noem, her news conference yesterday, she pointed out that they know each other pretty well because they served in Congress together. They became governor at the same time for the most part as well. So she was somewhat respectful of Tim Walz yesterday. Did he return the favor?
They have determined the character of a 37-year-old mom that they didn't even don't know. They've determined that the actions are done. I don't know. I've not used inflammatory terms of what happened. I've asked us to find the answers. The only way we find the answers is a thorough investigation by nonpartisan professionals.
Oh, okay, that would have been fine if that's what he said yesterday, but that's not what he said yesterday, and that's not what Jacob Fry said yesterday. And this one just makes me laugh because most of the country doesn't realize how full of crap he is.
We've delivered that. We've been able to do it. We've earned the trust. Everyone knows, globally, certainly here, that George Floyd, who was murdered a few blocks from this site, tore at the soul of who we were. But we healed. We built back trust. Chief Brian O'Hara came in and took one of the most difficult jobs in America of building back trust in the police force in Minneapolis after Derek Chauvin murdered George Floyd.
Let me tell you something. Derek Chauvin did not murder George Floyd. And I need you, if you're even one, like little percentage point or a 0.1% doubtful of that, watch The Fall of Minneapolis. Google it. You can watch it for free. Just watch the first 15 or 20 minutes. And then you tell me if you heard the whole story and you still have Tim Walz spreading a bunch of BS about Derek Chauvin and George Floyd. George Floyd was a common thug criminal who was in that convenience store already saying, I can't breathe, I can't breathe. He did the same thing in a previous traffic stop that is available via body cam that I'm sure you can find online, where he started saying when the cop pulled him over, I can't breathe, I can't breathe. So Derek Chauvin will probably spend the rest of his life in prison, but talk about a situation of injustice. And I don't get it, and we'll talk about this maybe tomorrow, but man, you Democrats, you love criminals. You just love them. You take the side, they take the side of criminals every single situation. Someone, maybe Steve Butts can explain that to me tomorrow. Someone on the left is going to have to explain why you make heroes out of bad guys and criminals. The Maryland father, Mike Brown, George Floyd. Now, Tim Walz is right. We don't know much about this woman, right? But you know what else? You don't know what that officer has gone through and the position that he was in. And you're calling it a murder at this point? And trying to inflame and gaslight the situation even more, which is, by the way, you do it with the help of the media up there and the media across the country. It's reckless and irresponsible. I'm glad that nobody else got hurt last night. I hope that continues.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Well, some good news in traffic. They cleared the accident 44 at 55. That was westbound 44 at 55. Now, we still have the accident westbound 70 past Adelaide. Lanes blocked there and a jam behind it. Now, northbound 270, a little bit slow at 64, but southbound slowing in pockets Ladue Road down through Gravois. Still some heavy traffic southbound 141 at 44. And westbound 70 out west, some moderate volume in the Wentzville area. But if you're headed into Illinois and the Poplar, things look fine. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Enjoy the football game tonight. Woo. We'll be here at 3 tomorrow. And again, a pretty significant Reardon Roundtable announcement that will be made by Catherine Hanaway, the Attorney General, tomorrow at 3. We'll talk to you then.
Why do the national tax resolution firms need the tiny fine print at the bottom of all their TV ads? Hi, this is Lance Story with the Lance Story Law Firm. You don't hear fast-talking disclaimers in our ads because the claims we make are 100% transparent. The Lance Story Law Firm